anapima.
Hii chakula mzuri sana.
Nzito kabisa.
Salivate this delicious meal on your screen while taking notes for the recipe. Don't miss What's in Your Kitchen, coming soon on KBC.
나 경력 단절돼서 처음부터 다시 시작해야 되는데 애 딸린 아줌마라고 다들 싫대. 나 진짜 일 잘하던 여자였는데. 많이 놀라셨죠?
전혀요.
그래서 그렇게 들어오셨구나.
누가 누웠다고?
Yes, a very good morning to you from wherever you're watching us from. We are coming to you live from the broadcasting house here in Nairobi, Kenya. From wherever you're watching us from, thank you for choosing KBC Channel 1, your number one station here in the country. It is the 9th of August 2023, a very fine Wednesday morning. My name is Ram Aguko. In our program this morning, we have a lot in store for you. And of course, we don't do it alone. As you've seen, we are here with my colleagues, and I'll start from my far left with Victor Olo. I know he has a lot in store for us. Good morning,
absolutely,
Victor.
Absolutely. Good morning, Ramaguko. You know what happens? This reminds me of that chilly morning last year. At this particular point, more than 9 million Kenyans went to the ballot to cast their vote. That happened exactly 12 months ago. What are some of the hits and misses have we achieved as a nation? Where are we? What are some of the look aheads that we should be expecting from the government and even some of the, some of the players? And even us as media, what have we achieved this far? We've been receiving a lot of fire from different quarters. And I think this is a time for us to have some kind of retrospect as far as this is concerned 1 year later. Vivian, did you vote last year?
Yes, I did vote. I did cast my vote. And yeah, 1 year later,
yes,
a lot has happened. And I really don't know whether to say my vote was valid or not.
That's a story for another day.
That's really a story for another day that I do not want to comment on. But, well, Victor will be telling us more about that, just looking into a year later. How far have we gone as a country?
I remember even as we were talking about the elections last year, I personally did not vote.
Oh.
Why? Because we were on the field trying to gather all the reports so that all Kenyans can be able to be updated in regards to the voting and what is taking place at the tallying centers. I remember I was moving from one polling station to the next, trying to gather all the information needed.
But one lady who got it all was Regina at the Bomas of Kenya. That place can get chilly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, you did.
Regina, memories.
I was dreading, Victor, is when Chebukati, the then chair, made that particular pronouncement of who was declared, president. Now we have a president, the winner of the elections. My main concern was that if we had to redo, or rather go back to the ballot box, because Bomas was chaotic.
You are the nerve center. You saw it all.
Chaotic, and you couldn't sleep, especially we called it the graveyard shift. We were getting into Bomas at 5:30.
Exactly.
Even Ben Kamuti, who is directing us this morning, was part of that shift. So we had 2 shifts in a day. So there was the morning and the night.
Yes.
So the night was the most difficult because you arrive at Bomas at 5:30 p.m. and leave after doing a live link at 7.
The following day.
The following day.
Right.
So through the night when they were doing the updates in regard to which county voted how, you were expected to be there. listen and report adequate numbers, adequate figures, that such that we could not even rely on what was being broadcast by, you know, their portal, that's the IBC portal.
Yeah.
You had to listen and, you know, do the calculations and such, and be very, so you will not sleep the whole night.
How many liters of coffee did you take?
Let's talk about coffee. And I today, well, thank God that I'm still I'm an addict to coffee, so that worked very well.
Yeah.
But if we go back, yes, if you're asking why, if I didn't vote, yes, I did not vote because I was on the line of duty. And also talking about anniversaries, we're going to be looking at devolution after 10 years.
10 years.
Yes.
Yep.
10 years of devolution, the hits and misses. And tonight, also on our special broadcast, we're going to be having an eminent panel of those who provide oversight as well as the drafters of the Constitution. Remember, devolved units are as a result of the promulgation of the Constitution 2010. We welcome your feedback. Our Twitter handle is at KBC Channel 1. I am at Ray Manyara, at Ramaguko, at Victor Olo, Vivian.
At Vivian Degwa.
Vivian Degwa. Okay, first things first, let's bring you up to speed with those stories that have been making headlines. And we start off with a If you're tuning in, this is in the headlines, and I'm Regina Manyara. Now, President William Ruto says he will not allow individuals to use violence in pursuit of personal interests. The president, who spoke when he met over 5,000 leaders drawn from 11 counties from across the Mount Kenya region, ruled out negotiations with the opposition on any issues surrounding the outcome of the elections in the 10-member dialogue committee.
Tuesday morning, and over 5,000 delegates started streaming into the Sagana State Lodge for a date with the head of state. The president using the meeting to rally area residents behind his development agenda, calling on them to support the taxation measures proposed in the Finance Act.
Kwa sababu watu wa Mlima Kenya ni watu wanaelewa uchumi. Ya kwamba uchumi wa taifa letu la Kenya tumeidhibiti. We now have a firm foundation for the economy of our country. Na niwahakikishie ya kwamba we are going to be prudent, we are going to be careful in the management of our resources and in making sure that even as we borrow carefully.
And as the country gears up for the first meeting of the 10-member committee from both sides, the president says he will no longer allow individuals to use violence to pursue personal interests.
Na tumekubaliana na wale. Na it is not negotiable ya kwamba Kenya haina nafasi ya vita na fujo na kuharibu mali na kuharibu biashara na kuchoma barabara na kuharibu mali ya umma. Kenya haina hiyo nafasi tena. Na hakuna kiongozi wa jana, wa leo, wa kesho ambaye atatumia vita na violence kuendesha siasa katika taifa letu la Kenya.
The head of state categorical that there will be no talks centered around the outcome of a 2022 general election.
Hata wanatuambia ati tuzungumuze ati mambo ya sijui IBC, ati sijui maneno gani, ati sijui mambo ya inspection, sijui server, sijui nini. Tumewaambia maneno hiyo yote ilimalizika. Ama namna gani?
And as his working tour comes to a close Thursday, the head of state was full of gratitude to locals for overwhelmingly supporting his bid in the elections last year, an act he says set the stage for the end of ethnic politics.
Mumefanya watoto wenu na watoto wa Kenya wengine wengi wajue ya kwamba inawezekana katika taifa letu la Kenya. Mtoto wa kutoka jamii yeyote, kutoka familia yeyote aweze kufika mahali ambapo hata ndoto kwa kawaida haiwezi kufika.
Mtangoja mwaka 10 for that to happen. It will not happen. Hakuna. Sisi ni watu tumesoma na tunaelewa. Huyu rais anatuelewa. Tena mtu anatupenda, tutakosania nini? Tutakosania nini? Ametuonesha mapenzi, ametuonesha kila kitu, ametufungulia milango, ameteua watu wetu kwa viti ambaye ni ya maana. What problem could be between us and the president? Zero. So nyinyi watu ya magazeti, please stop living in denial and stop trying to create a conflict where there is none.
Since his arrival in the Mount Kenya region on Saturday, the president has maintained his stance that he will not have a handshake between him and the opposition. And in what could further muddy the waters for the 10-member committee, the president has also watered down some of the agenda items lined up by Azimio. The president says that the constitution of the IEBC, the audit of service and the cost of living are off the table.
Indeed, that's an update of what was happening yesterday after we had that conversation by John Jacob Curia there, putting into perspective what happened and continues to happen across the Mount Kenya region. Still keeping up with the political beat is that Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga now says the opposition is ready to engage their counterparts from Kenya Kwanza Alliance in the joint bipartisan talks set for today at the Bomas of Kenya. At a briefing by the coalition leaders in Karen, Raila also announced the appointment of besieged Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni as the coalition's head of legal and technical operations during the negotiations. Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka will lead the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition team as National Assembly Majority Leader. Kimani Ichung'wah takes charge of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance side.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga on Tuesday reiterated the coalition's unwavering commitment in the bipartisan talks between the government and the opposition, slated for Tuesday at the Bomas of Kenya. Speaking at Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's residence in Karen, Nairobi, the opposition chief, however, said engaging in the negotiations does not amount to cowardice, but rather an act of strength.
We stand for transparent, above board, and speedy talks guided by decorum, honesty, and respect for the people of Kenya.
The former premier disregarded the notion by a section of leaders that the talks will flop. The opposition also appointed the embattled Jubilee Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni to lead the Azimio la Umoja coalition's legal and technical team in the dialogue.
You have tasked our delegation and our technical teams under the able leadership of His Excellency Kalonzo and Kioni to go to these talks with the courage of and open minds.
Top on the Azimio list of issues is cost of living, audit of the 2022 election results, and reconstitution and restructuring of IBC, measures to prevent interference with political parties, and finally government issues, adequate checks and balances. Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka will lead Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition's team, while Majority Leader in the National Assembly Kimani Ichung'wah will lead the Kenya Kwanza Alliance team.
All eyes on Bomas today as we commence the bipartisan talks. Now, a police officer has been arrested in Nakuru after shooting his colleague in unclear circumstances Tuesday morning. Nakuru County Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi said Constable Jackson Konga was arrested after he killed Sergeant Christopher Kimeli.
Police in Nakuru have launched investigations to try and unearth what might have transpired, leading to the killing of Sergeant Christopher Kimeli Tuesday morning by his colleague Constable Jackson Konga. Nakuru County Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi said Konga was immediately disarmed and put into custody after the unfortunate incident. The two were all based at the Rift Valley Regional Dog Section headquarters.
Kimeli was also on duty, but he had actually signed off. He was heading to somewhere to pick his child from a certain school.
Meanwhile, 2 people have been reported dead and several others injured after 2 vehicles collided head-on at Sobia area along the Nakuru-Eldoret Highway. Nakuru County Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi said several other people were injured in the accident that involved a matatu and lorry.
And then we had also several serious injuries, around 7. Were taken to level 5 Nakuru Hospital, and then the bodies were moved to municipal mortuary. We had also some slight injuries of about 4 persons The cause of accident is also yet to be established.
Elsewhere, preliminary investigations indicate that motorcycle operator illegally firing over 3 sacks of charcoal is to blame for the accident that killed the leader of the majority party, Nyamira County Assembly, Elijah Osiemo, on Monday. 2 MCLs who survived the accident that occurred along the Maimayu-Narok Road on Monday afternoon narrated how their driver tried to avoid hitting the motorcyclist before the accident occurred.
Tukapatana na pikipiki yenye ilikuwa imepepa makaa. Driver alipojaribu kuikwepa kidogo, nao pia yule mjamaa akashtuka tena, naye pia karudi kwa barabara. Kujaribu tena kuikwepa kabisa, ndiye akagonga makaa yenye alikuwa amebeba, na ilikuwa ni makaa mingi sana. Mimi na driver ndio tulikuwa mbele. Hao wenzangu mwenye alikufa na huyu mwenye ameumia pia sana, wao walikuwa nyuma.
Now, the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, is once again on the spot for irregular appointments of 11 staff members made back in 2020. Appearing before the National Assembly's Health Committee, NHIF acting CEO Samson Kuhora was at pains to explain how the said staffers were promoted to management level without the knowledge of the NHIF board and their payments backdated. As Abdiaziz Hashim reports, MPs have also stopped NHIF from procuring a new system that is intended to cost the taxpayer a whopping 4.2 billion shillings, terming it as a waste of public resources.
The National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, is once again in the eye of a storm, where it has emerged that low-ranked staff were promoted without the knowledge of the board.
This committee chair is in receipt of some irregular appointments which have occurred within the NHIF.
The National Assembly Chair, Robert Pukose, revealed that the 11 staffers were appointed to top management level and their payment backdated at the behest of the taxpayers.
Which would basically mean that the process was fraud.
Now, however, the confirmation of these individuals in some of these positions was done outside the board.
The salaries were backdated from 1st September 2020 to 30th April 2021, and this amount to millions of shillings to these individuals, and this amounts to loss of public funds which must be surcharged from them.
NHIF acting CEO Samson Kuhora and NHIF chairman Michael Kamau stated they are aware of the matter and it is currently before the Human Resource Committee at the fund. NHIF was also faulted for planning to procure a new information system at a cost of 4.2 billion shillings to replace the current one that cost 1.6 billion shillings.
Based on the procurement plan, it's a new ERP system implemented in 4 phases at a total cost of about 4.2 billion shillings.
The MPs have stopped the procurement, terming it as a wastage of public resources.
We will not allow you to spend that money carelessly like that. You've spent already 1.6 billion to procure the system which you have. You want to put that 1.6 aside and spend another 4.2.
Chair, that is noted. We will provide the documents that are available.
Honorable Chair, I get a feeling that this particular NHIF have suppressed the system to allow things to be done manually, and the end result is what we have seen, Chair, the NHIF scandal.
The Watchdog Committee has summoned NHIF ICT Director and Principal Secretary for Information Communication Technology and Digital Economy to expound on the procurement of the new system. This comes as the Health Cabinet Secretary, that is Susan Nakhumicha, has revealed that she will make changes, especially in the top management of the National Hospital Insurance Fund in the coming days.
Now, as Kenya transitions towards the digital highway, concerns are abound over the insatiable demand for personal data that has led to selling of information by rogue controllers and data processors. To counter this, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner is calling for caution among Kenyans before disclosing any personal information. One is required to question what the data will be used for and for how long. Data processors and controllers are also required to ensure compliance so that the data in their possession is not compromised.
Technical questions, and we appreciate them. We reject back.
In its third phase of public engagement forums on data privacy, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner team was in Kitui County. Here, Kenyans raised concerns over how safe their personal data is in view of recent events.
Due to poverty index, I think people are tempted to give their information like the world coin.
When you walk into any building, whether government or private, you leave your ID there, you leave your contacts there. How are you going to ensure these institutions, whether private or public, do not misuse that data?
The Office of the Data Protection Commissioner clarifying that the matter was still under investigation.
Don't give out your personal data, and especially even sensitive personal data, if you do not know what that person that you're giving is going to do with that data. Because when we start our investigations or when we're investigating into complaints, we ask the complainant, ulipeana?
We give out information, and still we even don't lead on terms and conditions. We just click it. We don't know what we have certified those social accounts to use that information for. If you are giving out information, just give the information that is relevant.
The Office of the Data Protection Commissioner reporting that out of the over 3,000 complaints on data breach received so far, 80% involve digital credit providers.
A data subject has the right to have their personal data erased if the personal data is no longer necessary for the purpose which it was originally collected. The second one is if the data subject withdraws their consent.
Last evening I was receiving some greetings from my friend, but on a strange number. But when I look at the photo attached on WhatsApp, it belongs to a friend. I think many of you have received such.
Digital superhighway and creative economy is at core of the government agenda. Therefore, there is need to put in place safeguards that will protect processing of personal data.
In an era where data is considered the new gold, the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner is reminding Kenyans that part of their mandate and responsibility is to ensure that their personal data does not end up in the wrong hands.
A quick fact there is that you do not necessarily have to leave your ID information when accessing a building. That is something that it is not bound by law or any other regulation, so to speak. If you can validate that indeed you're a Kenyan and you have to be there, you do not have to leave those details as required across very many, establishments, including corporates there. Now to business, Kenya targets to double milk production in the next 5 years to expand opportunities for farmers. President William Ruto says the government is putting in place a solid plan that will see milk production increase from the current 5.2 billion litres to 10 billion litres a year.
Even though milk is one of the highest influences of income in Kenya, generating at least 200 billion shillings annually, farmers do not earn optimally since they sell raw milk. President William Ruto says the government is addressing these by modernizing Kenya Cooperative Creameries plant and installing milk coolers across the country to enhance value addition of milk.
Tumeweka mpango ya milk coolers 650 ambazo tutazileta tuzisambaze katika kila mpango. Nia yetu ni at least tufikishe kila ward milk cooler, ndio tuhakikisha kwamba hasa katika sekta ama sehemu zile tuko na mambo ya maziwa, tunazalisha chakula maziwa ya kutosha.
The president spoke on Tuesday in Kiganjo, Nyeri County, where he commissioned the modernized Kenya Cooperative Creameries Kiganjo factory that is equipped with new product lines to process camel milk and drinking water.
For the next 3 years, we are going to spend 3 billion shillings in the modernization program of our KCC facilities. Tumekubaliana tutakamilisha Kitale. Tutakamilisha tayari katika budget ama supplementary budget tuliyopitisha before this main budget. Tulipatia KCC shilingi milioni 700 so that we can complete the facility in Nyambene.
Meanwhile, the cabinet has vacated an earlier decision to privatize 5 state-owned sugar factories. The cabinet has approved the revival and commercialization of 5 millers, namely Nzoia, Chemelil, Miwani, Muhoroni and South Nyanza sugar companies. If the proposal by cabinet received parliamentary approval, the 5 state-owned millers would be operated under a lease and operate framework.
Universities should utilize the resources in their possession, such as land and faculty, as well as research, to make money, as a traditional revenue stream for school fees is inadequate. This is according to former Kenyatta University Vice Chancellor Professor Olive Mugende, who says universities should keep attracting students through competitive courses and a good faculty.
Universities have come under pressure from increased cost of operation and reducing revenue streams as more and more universities set up in the country. With most universities relying on school fees, the institutions of higher learning have been challenged to explore other revenue streams.
We must take the fundraising strategies as private universities very seriously. If you think about some of the private universities, not just in Kenya but outside, they actually don't get any funding from government, but they are able to sustain. So that will be the question: how do we sustain ourselves? And mainly is through fees. We can't deny that the more students you have, of course, the more income you have.
Professor Okeo says partnerships with industries, research grants, private donations and endowments are also revenue options.
There is need to acquire more resources, and there is need to adapt to the new environment, which the changes in education policy, changes in finance policy, changes in a lot of other policies of government bring along, particularly that are going to affect our educational institutions.
Most public universities rely on funding from the government, which has been said to be inadequate to meet the evolving needs.
To sports, former champions St. Anthony Boys High School from Rift Valley thumped a hopeless Matiliku Secondary School 8-0 as this year's national term ball games kicked off in Kakamega County. Shandarema Boys Secondary School also had a good day in the field as they hit 8 past Northeastern representatives Harar Secondary School. Achola Simon has pitched camp in Kakamega and has the following details.
Star player Aldrin Kibet of St. Anthony's Boys High School notched a hat-trick as he helped his side hit 8 past hapless Matiliku Boys from Eastern Region in the opening day of this year's National Term 2 ball games. St. Anthony's ran rings around Matiliku defense at will, with Kibet and Alvin Kasavuli doing the damage. Other scorers for St. Anthony's were Stanley Waswa, who scored 2 goals, and David Wekesa and Gregory Agesa, who notched a goal each in the opening Pool B game.
Hapa kusema kweli kila mtu amekuja kama bingwa. Huwezi sema kwamba eti hapa kuna mpinzani mahususi. Hapa kila mtu ametokea kwenye jimbo lake kama mshindi. Na sisi kila mechi tunachukulia kama finali. Kwa hivyo tutakuwa tukienda hivyo.
Western Region representative Shandarema Boys High School also had a good day in the field as they matched St. Anthony's in every stride by hitting 8 past Hofor Harar High School from Northeastern Region. Nairobi representative Dagoretti Boys High School pipped Coastal representative Serani Boys by a solitary goal, while Nyanza representative Agoro Sare edged Kirangari Boys from Central by 2-1. In women football, defending champions Villeta edged St. Mary's Dwarf Girls in a hard-fought 2-1. Butere Girls fought to a 1-all draw against Dagoretti, while Madira thumped Mbitini by 7-0. In volleyball girls, Mwitoti from Western Region edged Nyakach Girls from Nyanza by 3-0, while Kwanzanze also dispatched Viambani by similar sets. Kesagon beat Karima from Central by 3-0. The game continues tomorrow. Achola Simon, Channel 1 Sports, Kakamega County.
Now from Kakamega, Team Kenya has kicked off the athletics campaign in the ongoing Commonwealth Youth Games in Trinidad and Tobago. On a high note, as for Kenyan athletes booked their slots in the 1500 meters finals. Kenya's quartet, Josephat Sang, Andrew Kipto, Janet Chepkoech and Nancy Cherop won their respective heats to qualify for the finals.
Kenyan Janet Chepkoech completed dominated heat 1 of the women's 1500 meters. Her compatriot Nancy Cherop followed with a win in a similar fashion in the second heat. In the men's category, Josephat Sang and Andrew Kipto easily won their respective heats to book slots in the finals.
Sijaona challenge mingi sana, lakini choto temperature huko iko juu. Lakini naona time inaingia peke yake.
Angawaje ilikuwa jua sana, lakini tulivumilia. Mazoezi yenye tunapata iko sawa.
Unajua, wakati tulipokuwa tukienda Karura nilikuwa natafuta ile hewa nzuri, kwa sababu hapa mahali kuna joto utachua ya kwamba ukitrain high altitude alafu kuja pande hii utakuwa umeaccumulate ile tunasema red hemoglobin ambao inasaidia kuweka oxygen. Hata kama utakuwa area ambao kuna joto, vijana walijiandaa vilivyo.
Cyclists Daniel Kiptala and Billy Graham put in a spirited fight in the road race, which saw them finish 14th and 15th respectively. In Tobago, the girls rugby team registered a second win after seeing off host Trinidad and Tobago 49-0 before falling 45-0 to Australia.
Congratulations to our team there. That puts a cap on matters in the headlines. Be sure to visit our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke, for further details in regard to what is happening. Some of the developing stories that we're going to keenly be putting tabs on is the conversations and the debate, as well as the negotiations that are going to be taking place at where it all began. I'm talking about both months of Kenya, where Kenya Kwanzaa as well as Azimio la Umoja are going to be holding their bipartisan talks. I'm Regina Manyara. I wish you a pleasant viewing ahead, and also welcome to participate in our candid conversation that is up next. State of the nation, where are we in as far as matters of politics are concerned? And given that we are going to be celebrating 10 years since the devolved units got operational, have they met the objectives in delivering service to Mwananchi? Our Twitter handle at KBC Channel 1.
She hasn't just taken this title, she's absolutely obliterated the whole field. 3:52.96.
It's a big stage, big names and big expectations. An immersive celebration of athleticism. More than 2,000 athletes from over 200 countries will compete in 49 events. Drawing inspiration from past memorable outings, Team Kenya is looking ahead for a remarkable feat in the forthcoming World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary, in Central Europe. Witness the wonders from Budapest, Hungary on 19th through to the 27th of August, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, the true sports partner.
There are times when reason becomes unclear in the heart, and forbidden loves come to life. Isabel Montalban will now convert paradise into a land of the wild. She knows her heart is true to one of the Oteros, but is not quite sure who of the three it is. Now, their view will blind them well beyond the core of their blood bond. In these wild lands, it is the rule of heart that is supreme. In wild lands.
There is always a tendency by musicians to experiment and attempt to shift the whole music center towards a more youthful content and audience. Eric Wainaina's version of Ngweterere, first recorded by Wanganangu, became an airwave success. Alex Wainaina, alias Darling P, attracted much attention and exited in a hurry from the scene with his 4-in-1 urban rap idiom.
Ningekuwa wewe ningehesabu masaa ya pumzi niliyobakia nayo hapa ulimwenguni. Hapa tushamea, mizizi shakita.
Wewe support vile anavyonifanya.
Nakwambia angalia hizi kelele ndo mimi sitaki.
Uona ushirikina huu. Kate amerudi.
Welcome back. It's now 6 minutes past 7 a.m. Welcome to the program. This is a viewpoint on Good Morning Kenya, right here on KBC Channel 1. Welcome to the program. Today, we are going to be taking a look at 1 year later. Last year, at a time like this, Kenyans went to the ballot to elect their leaders from the MCA right to the top president. Now, what are some of the hits and misses have we achieved or missed as a country? What are some of the legislations that are still pending, that have been passed in the National Assembly? What are some of the amendments that you think that members of parliament should be working on? And what are some of the improvements that as a people do you think we should be taking a look? Minus getting into the personalities as a nation, how are we moving on 1 year later? That is going to be forming part of my discussion today with my panelists in studio. I will be introducing them shortly. But right about now, let me take you through the traffic situation in the city. How does it look like now? Let me start with the capital city, of course, the Nairobi. Today, we are looking at a situation where Nairobi is still looking pretty fine. Now that it's still early, 7 minutes past 7 a.m., a majority of people are still in the house and most schools are on a break. But the problem is always here along Thika Road, but not as bad as it has been always. The traffic is just around Muthaiga Square there, joining Kiambu Road. Again, Kiambu Road also today is a bit okay, but that snarl-up continues up to around Pangani, then it eases. Thereafter, it's moving to around Globe Roundabout, looking pretty fine. There is something happening today. I have no idea. Now, if you're coming from westland side of the city, coming from, all the way from Uthiru, ABC Place, coming to Westlands, everything moving fine past Kempinski there, joining the museum overpass. coming down to Uhuru Highway, University Way, and ultimately into the CBD is moving very well. So if you are coming from the western side of Nairobi, you have a moment to drive into the CBD or whichever destination you want to go to. That extends all the way to Mombasa Road, where the traffic is also okay, coming from Mlolongo down to Naivas Supermarket, Syokimau, all moving pretty well. I think because there is an option of the expressway and the route that we usually use, that is moving fine. Langata Road, Inakaje, there's a bit of some traffic snarl up just around Uhuru Gardens there, but after Wilson Airport, it's moving towards Western Hotel, joining the T-Mall roundabout, heading towards Nyayo Stadium, also moving fine, upwards towards the Mbagathi Way, pia iko sawa. Up till you join the City Mortuary roundabout there, that's where a bit of some traffic because of the traffic light. But after that, joining Valley Road down to the CBD, all moving fine. And finally, Ngong Road, how does it look like? There we have it. So far, so good. A bit of some snarl up because of the traffic lights. Please obey the traffic lights. That is rule number 1. Obey the traffic lights. Apart from that, nothing else to report about. The city looking very good. All green, meaning you are good to go. Let's head to Mombasa. Good morning, Mombasa. A bit of some traffic when you come to Kongowea Market. That is Kengeleni or Lights if you like. A bit of snarl up because there is a market there, ever busy. But past that, joining the new Nyali Bridge into the CBD, all moving pretty fine. What Mombasa, I hope you are doing pretty fine. Now, the Makupa Causeway, the new bridge, so far so good. A blessing to people of Mombasa or Kenyans generally, because there was a big problem here before this bridge was constructed. Now it's moving fine all the way from Changamwe, from Miritini, joining the CBD, moving okay. How about those people coming from the other side of the ferry? Now this is where the problem is. If you see this right here, then it means there's a very big problem at the Likoni ferry channel. There must be a lot of traffic, people crossing from the other side of the island, coming from the other side. It's busy. From the Likoni, that side, crossing the Likoni ferry is pretty busy. You have to be patient. Here, there is no excuse. If you can go and use the new bridge, of which a majority of people do not like. Kisumu, so far so good. That's how it looks like. Nothing to report about. Okay. That's much about it in traffic. Now, I'll take you through the front page of international papers later on. Let me introduce my guest in studio. I have got former NAT Secretary General Wilson Sossion, who is the CAS. Mheshimiwa, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Good morning, and good morning, our viewers.
Karibu sana. And the only lady in studio, Esther Kinyuri, nominated Senator. Mheshimiwa, karibu sana.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Very well. And Kilifi South Member of Parliament, Ken Chonga, also in studio with us. I had Sossion asking, how is Papa Namnyangumi down in the coast? Mheshimiwa, how is it?
How are you?
Karibu sana. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, 1 year on, before I get through the front page. So far, so good. How is Kenya? Mheshimiwa Ken.
Kenya is just there. It's still here to be what's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right.
Quite a number of things are not in place, but we believe things will fix up. Yeah.
Step by step.
Step by step.
Mheshimiwa Esther, there's a point 1 year later, at a time like this, I know most of us were braving the morning call to cast their ballot.
Mm-hmm.
You can imagine the flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we 1 year later?
1 year later, there's been so much development, even with the political disruptions.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to give a rating, but doing very well because of the reforms and proposals that have been brought currently. We have now cabinet secretaries appearing to respond to questions from the parliament.
Mm-hmm.
The president has put up so many other task forces, like the task force on education that has come up with a funding model, which is really going to see vulnerable students benefit in getting affordable education, so many other reforms in the healthcare sector. For the first time, the county governments have received their disbursements, and I'm happy for a county like Bungoma, where Governor Lusaka has paid all the pending bills. So there are so many positive things to talk about the Kenya Kwanza administration. Yeah.
All right, you've talked about Governor Ken Lusaka. He'll be joining me later on in the program to talk about that, which is a very big improvement and a plus to him, having in mind that a majority of counties are still grappling with that pending bills. Mheshimiwa Sosion, this particular point, you must be a happy man taking back to the education sector, something which is quite close to your heart.
Of course,
yes.
Extremely happy because I casted my vote on 9th of August 2022 for a change in this country, a shift from the status quo, and to liberate this country from state capture of certain individuals who are doing business with the people of Kenya. And I'm happy the president is keeping to the plan that was voted for by the people of Kenya, with the 5 pillars. And the first pillar on agriculture, we can see pamba harvest and further strategic action, including tax waivers on raw materials for manufacturing farm inputs ranging from fertilizers to agrochemicals. And for the last season, we saw farmers access fertilizers at half the price that was existing during the handshake regime, down from 7,000 to 3,500, and now it's going down further to 2,500. And
donated,
the
though.
impact.
Sorry?
The fertilizer is donated from Russia.
And
okay,
no, I think this is a civilized studio. Allow me to talk. Whether it's a donation is given for free, then even Kenya, the Azimio regime should have done that. But now we've seen the impact of fertilizers, the harvest, the trigger effect on harvest, on harvest, and therefore the cost of living is expected to come down. The micro, small, medium enterprise, the access to Hustler Fund, operating at over 30 billion and repayment at over 20 billion is a big platform that Kenyans are accessing. The digital superhighway and digitization of government services and expansion of digital access that is going to improve interaction and business and connectivity by Kenyans. The housing plan and the Finance Act that is going to enable all these programs to be done is on course. And number 5, the universal health care rollout, of course, is going to be concluded by 20th of October, and creative economy. But the most exciting thing for me are the transformative programs in the education sector. The president has implemented every clause and every bullet contained in the education charter, which is negotiated with stakeholders, and therefore we have a report that is going to facilitate implementation of many programs, including what Honorable Kanyuri has talked about.
This is going to be part of a discussion.
Funding model, revival of universities. Those who have eyes can see, and those who cannot see can feel
or even can hear. Very well. Now, that's going to be forming part of our discussion for the next 2 hours. I hope it's going to cover that. Now, let me take you through the front page of our local dailies. Let me start with the Star newspaper. Endless war. Ruto, Raila in combat 1 year on. Ruto, Raila in combat 1 year on. 12 months after polls, Kenya remains in a perpetual election mood. On a day like this 1 year ago, the two faced off in a hotly contested poll. Now, 1 year on, according to the clipboard here or the report card, Ruto and Raila can't agree on the final poll results. Number 2, there are no IEBC commissioners. Number 3, processes to replace Chebukati team stalled. 4, Cherera 4 forced out without pay. 1 now in exile. Again, IEBC evaluation report yet to be implemented. And finally, according to the Star newspaper, some opposition governors and MPs have joined government. We'll be taking a look at that very well. Mheshimiwa Ken, looking at this, endless war, Ruto, Raila, in combat 1 year on, election mood, persistent, perpetual mood?
It has been evident. There are so many stories going around about why Azimio is demanding to know, is demanding to have the servers being opened. And I think Azimio has a right to that. If Kenya Kwanza strongly believe that everything was above board, I don't see what is the big deal about auditing the servers. Because they would unearth under Azimio, if indeed they lost, they'll have to stop any stories about opening the servers. But the big question is, what is so difficult in opening the servers? These are property for Kenya. Kenyans are the ones who paid for it. And there, in an election, of course, there's a loser and a winner. And for as long as one is satisfied, yes, this is how he lost, he will have no questions to ask. But the reasons why Kenya Kwanza are not ready to open the servers, it means there's so much that is being hidden there, which is what is making actually Azimio to demand. But as you did put it, put that one aside. Kenya has been in a perpetual mode of electioning, I can say.
Courtesy of the politicians.
Yes. You see even what is going on right now. Today, Kenya Kwanza is Mount Kenya, giving so many promises. Tomorrow, I think this is the time when they're supposed to deliver on their manifesto. The other day they were in Coast. This today, the 5 days in Mount Kenya. What are they doing about the manifesto they promised to the Kenyans? Kenya Kwanza is actually not looking at the manifesto. It is looking at the 2027 elections. And this is where now value is lost. If we complain that the things that are not going right, I think the best important thing is sit down, fix those things. Not a question of going around and giving promises and promises and promises. Promises will not get us to where.
The last time I checked, the president was in the mountain for a development tour.
Yes.
CS. Were having their meeting in Sagana State Lodge. Cabinet meeting was in Sagana yesterday. For the first time that was happening. Commissioning development projects. Senator, what do you make of that statement? Perpetual mood, 1 year on. Kenyans have no space to breathe.
Unfortunately, anyone, I do not really understand why the Azimio faction can't stop bickering about the past election. Anyone who has hangovers about the past election, it's time to move on. Because Kenyans came out in large numbers and made a choice of whoever they want. The outcome and result was disputed. They went to the Supreme Court where the issue was canvassed extensively. And we all know what happens after that. So when you talk about issues of servers, right now we have an agenda of delivering to Kenyans, which we have done very well. Victor, I was in the first committee of bipartisan talks. And I want you to note that the president is the first person who gave a truce to Right Honorable Raila Odinga. But because they didn't see the essence of we engaging in talks, they opted to go for Mandamano. Now that Mandamano happened, then later they say we want to talk. Then was Mandamano really necessary? I think, and especially for the members of parliament, it's not our business as government side to organize the opposition. Currently, Azimio has been reduced to ODM because they are bullying even the other outfits within their coalition.
Is that the reality?
In parliament,
is that true?
That's a big lie.
They
know where they lost it. In the first place, when we moved, when we were
the senators, Victor,
I think Abdano has been asked the question.
Have you asked him the question?
Okay, all right. I'll get you time to answer that. Are you bullying other affiliate parties? Go ahead.
I'm the one who had the audience.
Yes.
In Senate, after we amended standing orders to have CSs appear to respond to questions, the Azimio side has been constantly missing in action. Whereas I expect legislators to be accountable to their own people by appearing and canvassing matters, they are not on the streets. Because now we have a constitution that takes care of a wider way of handling issues other than what we've been seeing from our colleagues. And the president has been very categorical with his statements. He's very open. You see, the moment he was actually even elected, he started hosting delegations from people who didn't even support him politically, because it's a symbol of national unity. And you even look at it, the other day was in Nyanza, that's Kisii, Luo parts of Nyanza. He's been in the, down at the coast, launching very huge transformative initiatives that we as Kenyans who cast our votes for him, anticipate that really he should be steering us in that direction, which I think is doing very well until our colleagues started bringing up the issue of maandamano as a reason, the issue of maandamano to canvass and really try to drag us into issues of like handshake. And when I talk about a handshake, that's a very poor leadership and governance experiment we ever experienced in this country. And we will never go back there. Not until they come up and say, really, that's not what they want. We saw the other agenda where of the new constituted teams talks that are meant to be engaged on. Cost of living was never there. Let Azimio come out and really state categorically what they want on the table. But if it's about sharing of power, that's not something we anticipated. Power is already devolved to county governments. Different departments of governments are doing their work. If there are issues we can discuss, let us discuss issues to do with ordinary people. Because at that point, then we converge. Because if it's the executive, they are serving through the executive to implement to the people. If it's the members of parliament are making laws and defending and airing what their people in their different areas want to listen to. So for me, the Kenya Kwanza administration is very focused from what we have actually articulated when we began this discussion. We are talking about this subsidized fertilizer. That for the first time, I have several feedbacks from my own village in Kenya of farmers who have actually received the fertilizer. That's the news we want to listen to. We do not want to listen to news of destroying property in your own country. Victor, a country where leaders cannot respect the rule of law is a country that is built on a weak foundation. We do not want Kenya to go to that end.
But just to clarify, Honorable Raila Odinga yesterday said in his press briefing that they are not interested in any handshake or government sharing deal yesterday. He also said that over the weekend.
If he may allow me.
If we're not getting anything right, are you interested in a handshake or sharing any position in government?
We don't want even an inch of that government. We want justice to go where it is. That's all.
I'll be interested to interrogate what this justice is all about. Mheshimiwa Sosion.
I think the Semio Brigade should begin smelling the coffee and extricate themselves from the slavery of Uhuru Kenyatta. That is what you're not seeing. And the day you will see this, you'll begin thinking better and working better in this country. Now they've been talking about the cost of living. Now they've dropped the cost of living. They've gone back to the server, auditing of the server. The server was open on the election day. All the results were transmitted to the portal by Wednesday 10, and you could download everything. The server was open. What is this server you're talking about? We don't understand. You canvassed it at the Supreme Court. Stop wasting time of Kenyans. If you are not interested in power sharing, then you cannot even talk about the server. I think this is just the activities of Azimio are choreographed and designed to disrupt the success of implementation of the programs by Kenya Kwanza. And that fundamentally is not going to work. It's what you call sabotage. You want to sabotage, talking about justice.
All right.
Which justice are you talking about? I think
as we continue this,
1 year down the line.
1 year down the line. Allow me to
1 year down the line. They're still talking about the server.
Allow me to go to Kisumu. We want to do a 360 check on what's happening. Allow me to go to Kisumu. I'll come back to you, I promise. My colleague Wycliffe is in Kisumu to give us a feel on what is happening from the lakeside city. Wycliffe, good morning. This particular morning, I believe you also voted last year. 1 year on, how is the lakeside city of Kisumu? Esther Kenyuri says that the larger Nyanza has benefited so far from the administration. Good morning, Wycliffe.
Good morning to you, Victor. That notion is quite, we can affirm to that, because when you look at, it's now actually 1 year since the voting for the presidential and all other elective seats was done. And definitely the electorate was quite expectant and expecting so highly from this administration, and that doesn't really exempt Nyanza. Nyanza being part of the country, they were also, residents around, the locals around, Kenyans from this part of the country were also expecting so highly from the Kenya Kwanza government. We know the thematic core priorities from the Kenya Kwanza government when they were coming into office. Actually, they made so many pledges that touch on agriculture, that touch on digital economy, that touch on universal healthcare and all that. And so far, right now I am joined by one Chris Owala from the civil society. He is a practitioner within the civil society spectrum, just to actually sample his opinion about the government so far, the deeds, the positive aspects and the negative aspects that he will mention, that actually will be a reflection of what the residents from the, or rather Kenyans from this part of the country think about the Kenya Kwanza administration so far. Chris, we are live on KBC Channel 1 under our Good Morning Kenya show. Yes, we are talking about the Kenya Kwanza government in office. It's now almost a year since they were elected. They were sworn into office. In your opinion, what have been the key highlights of this administration so far? Briefly, before I throw in my questions.
Thanks, Wycliffe. When you're looking at the government holistically, but more so, it is critical. The government exists to protect citizens, and the government exists to protect rule of law, to uphold. If I look at Kenya Kwanza in the first 1 year, I think they are implemented in a big deal. It's really in the issues of human rights record. 2 is the adherence to rule of law, which is the heart of any government. Because if the government does not follow the rule of law, then citizens also don't follow, and that now the chaos is out of the day.
What makes you think the government is not following the rule of law?
I don't look. There are a lot of pronouncements that have been made by courts. For example, the Act, the Finance Act, to the ruling on the cars. 3 on. If you look at quite a number of government officers now, a lot of people who are in the office are people who have been charged with corruption-related cases. And that tells you, the image of the government. It says that you must be like Caesar's wife, if you have people to respect him. But if the government is composed of people who have one case or the other running in the court battles, that tells the government that the government is not a government that can, if you want, there's a say has been said that if you are telling your child not to take the sugar, you also don't need to take the sugar, so that the child can copy you and see daddy is not taking the sugar, I also don't need to take. But if you take the sugar and you tell the child take the sugar, then that tells you the child will say, oh, daddy does this, but it contradicts it. So a government should not contradict itself. A government should lead by an example.
Talking about the rule of law, haven't we seen the crack being whipped? The whipping cracked on those that we believe could be corrupt elements, or that are facilitating corruption. Look at the KEMSA. We have seen the whipping cracked.
I don't think so, because if I look at my record, I think if you look at how some of the government officers speak, the senior people, even when you rule, when you get into the office, you don't say the government is for shareholders. The government cannot be, every Kenyan is a shareholder by a mere fact they are citizens. So you can't divide other people. But if you look at quite a number of the governments, CC, CS, what they stand for. If you look at the previous court cases that have been involved in, there are many. I don't want to name them, but there are many. The juries, they are out there.
But do you feel they are performing in their respective dockets? Apart from side
performance. Even he had His Excellency the other day saying that he speaks to his cabinet, and some of them don't understand their departments. It's a clear indication that the politics carry the day, not the quality of the staff. You see, it's a reward, but not on the quality of the people in the government that were brought in. And that's why you're seeing the economy is not coming up.
Actually, I want us to look at this from this perspective of the premises and the pledges that were made by this government and how they have fared so far on those pledges.
You know, we look at when the pledges the government was saying that they exist for the hustler, common man, and you realize that the cost of living is on the rise.
Sure.
So that's meaning that they're not doing well, because they have failed to tame the cost of living, and by the mere fact also by increasing the taxes. So it means that the citizen, there are chaos everywhere, and when there are chaos, the crime rate goes up, and when the crime rate goes up, then no one is secure, and that's why you're looking at if you look at what has been happening in the recent past, these young people are jobless, and I think what I can support in the Kenya Kwanza, the aspect of reducing retirement age to 55. That to me, there's a thing that I can support them, because Wycliffe, in Kenya, in this region, or in Kenya as a whole, life expectancy is 48.
For the men?
For the men. So if you look at a young person who graduates and have not got a job, and is 40 years, meaning you retire before getting a job. So it is a good indication that if somebody has reached 55, they can only be brought back if they have some competency on a contractual basis. But they also ease off and allow these many young people to at least work even for some few years before retire. Because that's the reality. We have a big number of young people who have not got a job, and the future is bleak. So that to me is a welcome thing.
Looking at the pledges and that manifesto that the Kenya Kwanza rolled out when they were being, they were seeking leadership. They mentioned about the cost of living actually, and we've seen the president putting into place quite a number of measures, including that he said, actually mentioned it categorically, that his government will not subsidize consumption, but rather production. And along that line, we have seen the fertilizer subsidy program. What do you make of that kind of move?
You know, production is not, fertilizer is not only an item that enhances production. You know, when you cannot farm without water, and if you don't do irrigation and focus only on fertilizer, you are lying to that person. Because when you have fertilizer, you need more water. That's the reality. So I tend to think the president ought to have been advised appropriately to put a proper mechanism in place. Make sure that every community that farms need to access the water beside the fertilizer. Because rains is erratic. The climate change is a reality. So no one can predict rains, and you cannot depend on rain-fed agriculture for any economic growth in agriculture. So they need to be a way of making sure that community get access to water, so that when they farm, they don't lose, because no one can determine rains. And again, when they're logging, they're killing forest, meaning that the rains pattern will not be there. We cannot be predictable. And to me, this is something that we need to look at it with a lot of insight, because you can the fertilizer is not the only thing that you require in farming. You require many things. You require farm input, you require the implement, you require the rain, you require even secure land tenure. If you don't have a secure land tenure as women who are small scale holders, then there's nothing that we call about food security. Yes.
And lastly, because of constraint of time, let me ask you, the Aslan narrative was quite predominant during the campaigns, and now 1 year into office by the Kenya Kwanza administration. What do you think of that narrative, and how they have fared in a move to uplift those at the bottom of the pyramid?
I think they have departed from what they wanted to do. They are now focusing on the what we call the rich. The focus on the middle class is gone.
What makes you say that?
You see, the president said that when I carry the Bible, I put it down, the maize will go down. You see, most of people are eating maize, and if the cost is higher. But if you look at the narrative about employment, youth employment, which was their focus, it's not doing well. If you look at now as the housing, and the housing now, they are also decided to tax everyone irrespective of. And even if court have spoken against it, and you could see a lot of junior staff are going to the street. You could see teachers are going to the street. You could see government workers are going to the street, up in arm.
What should be the focus now?
The government should make sure that you work on economy, bring economy better, because of the exchange rate. You cannot import things now because they have not concentrated on how to strengthen our economy. And now everybody is on his own. So I tend to think that the government ought to have invested more on this common person, so that they bring them up. Everybody can pay even those healthcare from their pocket. But if they have their own income, no one wants to be given a thing for free. But make people produce, make people secure, and if people know that there's a rule of law, will be followed also, because this is where the government is not doing wrong. Now they are chaos. If court make a ruling, no one cares, and that makes people, even the investor, fear. Because you can't invest in a state where there are chaos and anarchy.
All right. Yes. We will continue with this interview off air, but then for the interest of time, I think we'll end it here. Victor, that is Chris Awala, a practitioner from the civil society spectrum, talking to us about what he thinks about the 1 year of the Kenya Kwanza administration so far. He has talked about the rule of law, the government not really keen on observing, rather taking into account the declaration from the courts, and that is his major parting shot, that the government actually, if it needs to put out a positive image out there for everyone to see, then the decisions and declarations from the court must be upheld for that government actually to be reflected on a positive note. Well, this is a conversation that doesn't end here, but for the interest of time, Victor, I think I'll hand it back to you in studio to continue that lovely interview. Back to you, Victor.
All right. Wiki, very well. Thank you so much for that. That is Wiki from Kisumu, getting a feel on the aspects on what's happening from the civil society and the players giving their insight there, giving his insight rather, on what the Kenya Kwanza government or we as Kenyans have so far achieved 1 year on. That's exactly what's the front page of the Standard newspaper. 1 year on. On August 9th, 2022, Kenyans trooped to polling stations and made their intent known. The battle was between hustlers and the elite, between a bottom-up economic model where subsidies will only be awarded to production. A year later, we begin to look at the promises made versus the reality on the ground. Mheshimiwa Association, before we took that link, you are on your feet. Maybe you can
yes, I was on my feet.
Go ahead.
First, rebutting the allegations from my good brother. And the main intention that Azimio is still chasing around and chasing the wind is hoping that some miracles will happen to give room to some power sharing. That's the reality. And should they fail in doing so, the intention is to throw into disarray the development agenda of Kenya Kwanza, because they know it's an attractive agenda. It cannot be done in a day. It's a process. It may take 1 or 2 years to realize the results. And once we realize the results, they know their goose is cooked in 2027. That's how you hear them talking about 2027. They're fixated about the next content, which is okay. They are welcome in 2027. But for now, the Kenya Kwanza manifesto is what needs to be implemented. And 1 year down the line, we are seeing the first financial act that is going to not only cure the misrule and ineptitude of management of the economy by the handshake regime, the economy which is in the doldrums with huge borrowings up to 9 trillion is a very difficult economy for anybody to manage, but it is also going to implement the Kenya Kwanza manifesto. Now, if you look at the agenda, before you ask,
just a minute, the Kenya Kwanza said that they inherited a dilapidated economy.
That's a fact.
1 year down the line, have things changed?
1 year down the line, if you look at the statistics from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, because let us not talk out of imagination and wishes. if you talk out of imaginations and wishes, we are not going to get anywhere. If you can see consistently for the last 3 months from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, the rate of inflation is coming down. Those are economic indicators of an economy that is stabilizing. The most immediate thing that Kenya Kwanza had to do was to put in place measures that would stabilize and lead the country to serious economic recovery from where it was. Stop borrowing and borrowing to pay salaries. That was the norm. And borrowing from the banks of individuals who are in government. It's wrong. We must stop it. It has been stopped. And the grand plan, if you look at the handshake regime, the investments were basically on capital development. And in capital development, that's where there's corruption. And the production sector has been neglected. The sugar sector is dead. The milk sector was being destroyed with adulterated milk imported from outside by individuals who were monopolizing the milk sector, the cartels in the coffee sector, the cartels in tea industry. Even they were getting to fish industry, importing fish from China. What are you going to do with the fish farmers in Kisumu who are hard-working? And I think these are the measures that have been put in place, even the taxation measures that is going to stop importation of certain goods that can be manufactured locally and availed locally by hard-working Kenyans will be realized through the Finance Act. Generally, yes, Kenya Kwanza will continue without any interference, injecting resources and supporting the production sector of the economy. That will be done. And it's not going to be realized. Even the impact of fertilizers, whether my brother says it's free from Russia, why didn't handshake regime get the free fertilizers? Because that is what Kenyans needed. So Kenya Kwanza will continue promoting the production sector of the economy. And as you have seen, there's been a lot of activities and conferences around the tea farmers and the tea farmers. Once the cartels are off the way and the marketing streamlined, value addition done. Allow me to finish.
I mean, to respond.
Thank you.
I can see he's burning. Let me just respond to that.
Thank you. I want to make some issues here to be very clear.
Go ahead.
Kenya Kwanza is seriously confusing people. One, Azimio does not want anything called handshake. It has been repeated several times. So if they have anything to say, let them say something else. Let them not talk about handshake. Otherwise, even in our agenda, it would be there. They have never seen it. Two, the other thing that Kenya Kwanza is confusing Kenyans. All these attractions, the talk here is between Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, not between Kenya Kwanza and Uhuru, as my friend is trying to allege. Uhuru should not be put in any of this matrix. Let be the agenda of Kenya Kwanza.
He's the Grand Master of Azimio.
I thought you were civilized.
He's the Grand Master of Azimio.
I thought you were civilized. That is what you said. So you are telling me otherwise. The other thing, Victor, these people are talking about the Finance Act. I really wonder whether my colleagues really read that Finance Act properly. And were it not that there were no anomalies, the judges would not have known. Refuted it. How come the court actually could not uphold it? There is a reason. My friend, the promises that are being made by Kenya Kwanza, they were replicated in that Finance Act. You see at the estimates, highly exaggerated. And when the estimates are highly exaggerated like that, that is a recipe for corruption. I was asking in Parliament the other day, Kenya is not going to war. Kenya is not anticipating any war. Why should we appropriate 145 billion to KDF? For what? And even if that was the situation, I am very sure there would be many other ways of going about this. But Victor, what is very, very important for me, as much as they're celebrating about inflation going down, the indicator of how an economy is doing will be known by the behavior of the stock exchange. If the stock exchange is stable, that is an indicator that that country is getting the right way.
Okay.
If the stock exchange is the way it is, as it is behaving right now, you can for sure tell that there's something that is wrong. Evil speculators do not want to speculate because they can see there's the danger coming there. And it's not that they don't see it.
So what's the economy like right now?
There is still so much uncertainty about the Kenyan economy. Investors, I think you have heard the other day, quite a number of them have moved to Tanzania. Because looking at the physical policy, the way it has been planned, honestly, they do not see a situation where the cost of production will at any time go down. So, if that is the case, why don't you move to the neighbors? The taxes are highly exaggerated. You know, I am afraid those taxes that have been put, some of them will be historical because they have never been seen. Taxing things like, content, intellectual content. These are hustler. He has no job. He's just come up with something, maybe on TikTok, you want to tax him. Kina mamas, they rely on these vyamas to educate their children and whatever, the merry-go-round, you want to tax them. What is there remaining not to be taxed? Maybe our blood. And I can see Kenya Kwanza going there. You are a bit strong, you have to donate your blood. Okay. They do not want to respect the rule of law at all. My brother Sosyon is in the office illegally, and he knows that. It doesn't mean that he doesn't know. Which office? Because as a CIS, they were not laid off.
Are you in office, Mr. Sosyon?
He will deny because we're on the camera. But I know from here he's going to his office.
No, that is not the subject matter for discussion.
No, it is because we're talking about celebrating the 1 year.
You should withdraw that statement because
I will have to
judicial and out of place. That is not a matter.
Because there's a court case to that, right?
There is a court case to that, but the guys are still in office.
Let's rest that. Senator Esther, a lot of allegations and fire coming from that. Mr. Sosyon, you'll also take a time to respond to that, whether you are going, I don't know which office, or we are going to...
I don't respond to trivial comments.
Okay.
Street comments. Those are street comments.
Fair enough.
You can call them whatever.
Those are street comments.
When you look at...
Let me say this.
Go ahead. In relation to the economy, as we are right now, the indicators, Mr. Sosyon said that...
I want to go back to other issues that have been raised here that I wanted to give my voice to, especially on governance manenos. Victor, when immediately the president was sworn in, he had promised to actually regularize the appointment of the 6 judges, which he immediately did. And the president has been very categorical that he's going to stand with the constitution and respect. And when he says that, it means respecting whatever the judges or the courts have ruled. And he also has room to appeal in where maybe he does not feel like they have ruled in the manner in which he thinks is, in favor of what he stands for or thinks is correct. So when we actually talk about the several court rulings that have come up, you've not seen the president dispute because he swore to protect and stand with the constitution. That he has rightfully done. Unlike the previous regime where there was total disregard of court orders and several other political engineered arrests that we saw. Nowadays we don't see Kamata Friday, where someone is just arrested on Friday and they are not charged up to Monday, We've not seen that, and you can attest to that. If I make reference to what my colleague Honorable Sosyon was mentioning, yes, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics gave a the consumer price index that is indicating the now current retail prices of different commodities. And really, we can see the cost of living is gradually coming down. What my colleague from Kilifi fails to tell you, even the Tanzanians is making reference to. I saw the papers writing even cost of fuel has gone up on the other side. So citizens must always be told the truth on the scenario on the ground. We are coming from a regime where, Victor, we had delayed disbursements to counties. When I make comparison to this regime, for the first time, money has been disbursed to all counties. And I gave an example of the governor of Bungoma who has actually taken a step to pay all pending bills. There's no noise from Bungoma. We are coming from a regime where we were defaulting even to pay road contractors. Currently, the president, in all the visits he's been undertaking, he's checking on the pending construction programs and pending bills. And that has been prioritized because that is what matters to ordinary people.
Yes.
If people have accessible roads, even the women will get to hospitals quickly for delivery. Children will get to school to access education. Any other person will get very easily to their place of business to make a living and feed their families. We are coming from a regime where there was heavy borrowing, which the current president is putting to a stop. And is doing that through, he has even signed so many bilateral agreements that are bringing so much investment to this country. Victor, there's so much to talk about this government. By September 2022, when the president was being sworn in, we only had 380 services available online. Now we have more than 5,000 services available online. And the moment we get fully operational into the agreement we have with Safaricom, guys will just be operating from their smartphones. That is what it means to make an environment, you know, easy for any other ordinary person to thrive in. We do not want to talk about satisfying one individual who constantly does not want to accept the outcome of an election. Victor, most of the leaders who are leading this country to destruction, who want to see this country burnt into ashes. The other time I was here, I made reference, and I'll still make the same utterances. Someone like Right Honorable Raila Odinga was first elected in 1992. I was being born. Martha Karua was admitted to the bar in 1981. My mother was in school. Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka was elected in 1986. My mom was still in school. These are people who have already secured the lives of their own children. Some of their children represent this country in the East African Legislative Assembly. They are the same people who want to take advantage of sons and daughters of nobodies whose parents' names are not in history books to come destroy property and eventually even lose their lives in the process. Victor, we would rather even quarrel and argue in a boardroom in the name of talks, other than me as Okenyuri witness a young person of my age die in the streets in the name of satisfying the quest of one person who will constantly reject the outcome of a legitimately elected president. This administration is in the right direction in dealing with the cost of living, and apparently that's why our counterparts in Azimio didn't have it in the priority of the talks that were signed. You saw it, it was aired in all the media houses. We didn't see the issue of cost of living. So now that it's very evident, it's not cost of living that they have been agitating all the way in the streets. Let them come out and say what it is they really want. Because the issue of result was canvassed at the Supreme Court, and they know that very well. The issue of IBC, which I'm very sorry to even note that we have constituencies which are lacking representation, like Banisa, where we lost. Some places have not. They're supposed to have an election. Now in Kisi, in Nyamira, recently we lost an MCA through a road accident of Nyamai Award. May his soul rest in peace. These are constituents who are going to lack representation because of the stalemate we are having. But the Constitution is very clear on how it's meant to be done. How would, you know, when people know clearly what the law states, and I want to commend the framers of the current Constitution because it caters for most of the issues the Azimio side is opting to prosecute in the streets where they belong.
All right. I want us to go to Mombasa, and when you come back, that is your coastal region area. You'll have to respond to that. And Mr. Sosion, you have a huge work to do. to talk about. But let's close over to Mombasa.
Give me space.
I will, I promise. Let's go to Mombasa and talk to our colleague Anburu, who is also in Mombasa, to give us a feel from the coastal city of Mombasa. Anburu, good morning. Good to see you. Mombasa looks quite okay this particular morning. 1 year on, what has changed or what has not changed? And what are some of the changes that you'd want us to see moving forward? Anne.
It is indeed a good morning from Mombasa County, and I'm coming live to you from Changamwe Interchange. And as you've rightly put it, it is exactly a year. Today, a day like today, last year, Kenyans had gone to cast their vote to choose the government in place today that is reigning. And a lot has been happening for the 1 year. So I'd really want to get views from the Mombasa residents just to tell me the hits and misses of this government during this period of 1 year. And they tell me exactly what they expected, maybe if at all they got what they expected, or they have still expectations from this same government. I'll be joined by one of the residents here, and I was just going to start with his name. Alafu utaniambia labda mwaka jana wakati kama huu tulikuwa tunapiga kura, labda ulipiga kura na matarajio fulani. So ningependa kujua kama huu mwaka mmoja ni kipi umekiona kenye kimefanyika kizuri, na labda kipi ambacho kimezembea upande wa serikali.
Baada ya kupiga kura tarehe mwezi wa 8, tulikuwa tunatarajia gharama ya maisha ishuke, na hiyo ndio ilikuwa matarajio yetu wakati tulikuwa tunapiga kura. Lakini baada ya hapo mambo haikwenda vile tulikuwa tunatarajia. Gharama ya maisha ilizidi kupanda, mafuta ikazidi kupanda. Kwa mfano mafuta ilikuwa na 8% kwa ushuru yake, lakini ikaje ka double, sasa 16%. Hata ukiangalia pale saa hii tunakunywa petroli kwa 191.60 hapa Mombasa, na I think hapa Mombasa ndio the cheapest. Mahali kwingine ni 190 and above. Kwa hivyo sasa hii serikali upande wa uchumi ama upande wa gharama ya maisha imefail. Upande ule mwingine imefail ni upande wa elimu. Wakati wa hapo awali shule zilikuwa zinafadhiliwa na hii pesa ya masomo ya shule, lakini saa hii walikuja sasa wakaiondoa. Sasa wazazi wanaumia kusomesha watoto wengi. Saa hii hawako mashule, wanafukuzwa kila wakati na elimu imeenda chini. Na tulikuwa tunatarajia ikiingia serikali ya Kenya Kwanza isaidie hata upande wa elimu. Sasa hapa Mombasa maisha hapa sio kama vile ilikuwa kitambo. Hata ukiangalia wakati watu wale wanafanya kazi za baharini kama Kirani Ford, sasa hii wengi hawana kazi zilisha. Sababu ya mambo ya uchukuzi imeenda chini, sababu ya gharama ya mafuta iko juu. Kwa hivyo kwa upande wangu percentage kubwa hii serikali imefail.
Kumbuka ni mwaka mmoja tu hivi sasa, umeongea kuwa mambo ni yale umeelezea. Labda haiwezi kuwa tu imeanguka upande mmoja. Labda ni kipi wameweza kusaidia na kufanya kizuri ambacho wanaendelea, kwa sababu bado wako na miaka mingine 4 mbele.
Okay. Sasa mahali sasa at least ni upande wa barabara tunaweza kuwashukuru, sababu sasa hii sasa ukiangalia barabara nyingi zile kama pengine kama hii ya Malindi wanaendelea kuifanya, ilikuwa nyembamba hata wakati tukisafiri kulikuwa na accident nini, lakini sasa hii imepanuliwa na inaendelea kupanuliwa. Hapo upande wa barabara wamejaribu. Ukienda sehemu zile zingine za juu, hata hapa Mombasa upande wa kilimo wamefanya vizuri, sababu wameshukisha bolea. Bolea ilikuwa karibu 1400, sasa hii ni 2500, na wakulima wanafurahia, wanapanda, na pengine mafuno watapata vizuri sababu gharama ya fertilizer imekuwa chini.
Labda kufikia sasa tuko na miaka mingine 4, ungetarajia ni nini wa improve?
Sasa hiyo miaka 4 hiyo imebakia kuanzia sasa, tuna matarajio vile sababu sasa hakuna kitu kizuri kinapatikana kwa uzuri mpaka kuwe na NHIF. Sasa ni vile hii mambo ya ushuru vile Wakenya wanasema wanaumia, na kweli tunaumia kupata hiyo ushuru, lakini slogan ya TRA ama kukata ushuru ni ile ya kulipa ushuru ni kujitegemea. Na vile sasa tunaendelea tukijibana tuendelee kulipa ile vile serikali inasema, at least kama within 2 to 3 years naona mambo itakuwa mazuri. Although watu wanaumia sana na maisha ya gharama iko juu, kila kitu iko juu, na hata hakuna mtu sasa hii anafurahia. Lakini with the time I think within those remaining years I think ukiendelea vile rais wetu amesema watu walipe ushuru hapa na pale na pale na pale, I think 2 to 3 years maisha itakuwa chini. Kwa hivyo nituvumilie ndio mambo iwe mzuri.
Asante. Maybe I could also have someone else to just give me the opinion. Wewe pia ni mwaka mmoja sasa, labda ni kipi umeona kimekuwa ama kimefanywa vizuri, ama ni kipi ambacho ungependa kibadilishwe katika huu mwaka mmoja, kwa sababu siku kama leo tumeweza kupiga kura mwaka jana?
Haya, kwa majina mimi naitwa John Marita. Na hudumu katika sekta ya tuktuk Changamwe. Na mimi ndio chairman wa sub county ya Changamwe. Kwa ufupi ninaomba serikali ya Kenya Kwanza, kuna mambo mengi tulikuwa na matarajio nao, lakini kufikia sasa ni kama ndio tunaendelea kudidimia. Watu kama sisi maasara tulikuwa tunatarajia kwamba tutafanikiwa, lakini kufikia saa hii maasara ndio wamesahaulika. Kuna wale watu walikuwa wanaitwa ni wazee ndio wameingizwa pale, sisi kama maasara tumebaki tuko nje. Ukiangalia biashara ambayo tunayoifanya, tuliahidiwa kwamba tutatengeneza serikali ya Kenya Kwanza kama watu wa bodaboda, wa tuktuk na matatu na mama mboga. Na katika serikali ya Mheshimiwa William Ruto, wale ameweka pale si maasara, ameweka wale watu ambao ni matajiri. Ukiangalia kama chief minister ni mtu ni bilionea. Ukiangalia kina Wetangula wamekaa kwa serikali miaka mingapi? Sisi kama maasara ni nini tumepewa kama watu wa chini kabisa? Ama kwa serikali yake ni nini tumeingizwa hapo na sisi tusemekane kwamba kati ya watu huyu ndiye alikuwa asara na tumemweka hapa? Kumaanisha kwamba serikali ya Kenya Kwanza imetusahau. Na sisi ndio wale tulikuwa tunamchangia sana tukisema tunataka huyu asara mwenzetu ili akiingia pale atusaidie kama watu wa chini. Tulikuwa tumeambiwa kuhusu usuru. Alisema anataka kungangana na wale matajiri, lakini saa hii mtu wa chini ndiye anafinywa. Kiangalia mahali mafuta imefika, hatuwezi fanya biashara. Biashara nilikuwa nafanya napata pesa. Saa hii naenda nyumbani na shilingi 100. Si bibi hata nitoroka. Nikiangalia watoto wetu wengi hawasomi. Mahali imefikia ni kama sasa tunaenda kuacha kusomesha watoto. Maisha yale yamefika ni kama sasa tumefika mwisho. Ndio sababu tunasema Kenya Kwanza imesahau wale wa Kenya walikuwa wamewaahidi watawasaidia.
Asante sana kwa sababu kwa maoni yako yenye umenipatia. We have come to the end of the residents' opinions that they've given to us. You've heard that they kept on complaining that the economy is still really infringing on them, and today, right now, we'll take you back to studio, but before they continue with the conversation, we'll have a commercial break.
Finally, you crawled out from Milishimon comedy feature.
Well, I was dealing with some personal stuff.
Where do you think you're going?
You have to pick a winning side. Life gives you a chance, but it only comes once.
If you think I'm going to betray my family, you're mistaken.
You think Alice is trying to buy him, eh?
I know she is.
Unbelievable.
I was waiting for you.
Oh, that's sweet. My father asks if you're still considering his offer.
Do you trust Nick?
Yeah, I think I do. Why?
I thought we were on the same side.
You can't keep this away from them.
You're not a Jingona, so you might pack your bags and leave us.
George is family. Come on.
I will not rest until the two of you are 6 feet under.
I need some help in the studio. Producer, director, and I need some bouncers around here. Okay.
But you are the one fueling it.
No.
You're not controlling the...
Yeah.
Yes, you fuel it and then you ask for bouncers.
I did some security.
We shall evict you.
Okay. Before you evict me, Mheshimiwa Sosion.
I was one who was coming in on the phone.
In 1 second, then I'll give it to Mheshimiwa Sosion. Go ahead.
Mine will not be 1 second. I wanted to make things clear here. That even the air that we are breathing right now, the celebration of the current constitution we are in also has a history. It just never came like that. When we start blaming Azimio for this or for this, let us also know that the 2010 constitution, there was a constitution before that, where actually the rule of law was not observed. Let us not forget, at one point, I think sometime in 1992, Kenya was a single-party state. People had to fight to achieve that. Let us not forget that even for Kenya to be free today, people had to sacrifice. We had Mau Mau who went to the forest to fight the white man so that we can be free. So let us not demonize everything of the past because we are now celebrating a new constitution. That would be very, very wrong. But said and done, I think the agenda here is 1 year later, 1 year after Kenya Kwanza has taken over the government. What is that we can be able to smile about? Or what is that we are going to smile about? I'm sorry, I have nothing to celebrate. I have nothing to celebrate, and one that is making even the matter worse is the Finance Act. Let somebody go into that act and look at it very, very critically and carefully. That is what is going to tell us that life is going to be much more difficult. There is no way an economy will thrive just by taxing its citizen to the last drop of his blood. No way, and it has never been seen.
Okay.
We need to encourage production. We need to encourage manufacturing. We need to encourage investment. Is our law encouraging investment for the youth to get jobs? Let's not talk about the housing sector is going to create I don't know how many jobs. For how long? What type of jobs? Somebody goes to the university, he's a lawyer, and kubeba mawe because he doesn't have anything to do. And we call that a job?
I hear you, sir. I donated 2 minutes from Mr. Sosion's time. Sosion, you're on air. The question as you respond to this, moving forward, as we enter the second year, a lot of expectation, even based from what we hear from our correspondents in Mombasa, in Kisumu, how are we going to change the whole narrative so that at the end of the day, the government has to work, the president has to deliver, opposition must also do their check and balances as far as you're concerned.
The question is, has the president really not delivered 1 year down the line? The president has, and there are significant indicators. And has the opposition played their role? No. They are very busy wasting time and promoting terrorism activities in the streets that are destroying property, that are not communicating at all.
Terrorism activities?
And, terrorism activities, yes. Those are, when you vandalize people's property, you vandalize shops, you vandalize property of those poor vendors, you vandalize even mortuaries, you vandalize roads. Those are terrorism activities. Call it, think of anything else. But those are terrorism activities. They don't pass the threshold of even being called demonstration. That's what they're doing for the opposition should accept. And you have asked one good question about the talks. Were there agreements? So you cannot formulate the terms of reference right now when it was already formulated and agreed with the 5-point issues. That number one is reconstitution of IEBC, because there are 2 constituencies doing without members of parliament. And
we all agree that has to happen.
No, yes.
Because
it's
the
my
commissioners
time.
are not in place. So.
It's my time, and allow me to ventilate. So if it was agreed that IEBC is a primary agenda, so let it be it. Let that committee deal with that. If it was agreed that creating the office of the leader of the opposition so that we can take Azimio from the streets and give them a dignified platform of checking government where they can be supported with government infrastructure.
You people, your mouths are full of chest thumping, vengeance. You don't want to see where the reality is. That is the bad thing about you, Sosion.
Victor,
call a spade a spade.
Victor,
I did not sit here to be called a terrorist. I'd rather walk out of this studio, my friend.
No,
I also have a language I can use. Yes, I can.
Give him time.
The other day when I called the murderers, what did you tell me?
It was agreed.
Okay.
He has to withdraw that.
The IEBC, I'm not withdrawing. It was agreed. Entrenching the office of the leader of the opposition, it was agreed entrenching the national government CDF in the constitution. It was agreed 2/3 gender rule, and those are critical parameters that they need to talk about, and they agreed. And you see, a president cannot just accede to a meeting without clear parameters. And I think the president has taken time to state very clearly that things to do with power sharing is not part of the discussion, and therefore the party should be able to prosecute their matters within that parameter. Trying to jump the agreement and bring in other issues is creating further confusion. 1 year down the line, and I think it's good we speak of specific issues. And I'll move you to the education sector. And don't forget, the president signed charters with all the 47 counties and special interest groups, including educators. And education is a key undertaking in this country that affects every household. Number one, because teachers are central and fundamental, the matter of delocalization of teachers has been abolished as a policy. And now teachers are more stable and they can work. Number two, matters to do with the training of teachers through TBD modules. That was also abolished because it was affecting teachers. Number three, a further 55,000 teachers have been employed, and that is going to protect quality in our public schools. Number four, salaries of teachers and other workers have been reviewed at the rate of 7 to 9% for the next 2 financial years, despite a biting economic time, including you, everyone in government sector. And this is a very conscious understanding by the president that the workers in government must be protected and cushioned against inflation. And that surprised everybody because that was a necessary step to undertake. And then very lastly, the Presidential Working Party on Education and Reforms, which now has actualized and implemented the many promises that were signed in the charter, including one, funding of schools through the minimum essential package. The small schools will get more funding. ECD, children that were not getting any funding before will now be entitled to at least 1,170 shillings. The primary school children in the public schools, their capitation has gone up to over 2,000 shillings. And if you look at the address of the CBC, the entire confusion that was brought in by the previous regime has been cleaned up. And if you look at it in the structure of education, early childhood, primary and junior school have been lumped and consolidated into what you call a comprehensive school and are veiled closer to the households through the current existing primary schools at affordable cost. This is going to bring down the cost of education and improve access and of course, quality. The senior secondary schools will remain models, will remain pathways within the current existing secondary schools to support the pathways. And when you look at university funding model, which people are confused about, the Azimio are still trying to get confused. I saw a letter by Opio Wandai. The model that has been developed is going to bring the universities out of their financial mess. And government has enhanced 54 billion to 84 billion for universities. And all the higher education loans board from 13 billion to 30 billion. And when you look at all these significant activities, to me, no government, even Azimio, didn't have such a plan. They wanted to walk in, continue with protecting the businesses of the dynasties, and continue exploiting Kenya. But when I look at this in terms of funding model and all this money that has been ring-fenced for universities and TVETs will be funded through the students. It shall not be wired directly.
Fair enough.
And it will be funded through full scholarships for children from poor households. So children from poor households will really get absolute full scholarship, and the number is about 45,000. The data is there in what you call Kenya Education Management Information System.
Thank you.
And that will be done. And so when you look at, when all these programs will roll and will be in place, we will run one of the most competitive education system that any country can mount in Africa.
Because it is
the presidential working party,
education is the equalizer.
Education and reforms, once implemented, is going to correct all the problems that we've had over the years. And therefore, the Ruto administration is working scientifically, meticulously, and empirically. Some of the significant indicators will be felt with time.
Okay, thank
if
you,
we talk about the cost of fuel,
let me come
cost of fuel is higher in Tanzania and Uganda. When you get down to the cost of living,
no. Let me come to Senator Okenyuri. We still have enough time here, around 15 minutes to go. Let me come to Senator. Senator, looking at the pointers, maybe in 1 minute or in two, what are some of the pointers, the hits and misses to this point 1 year later? Of the administration. I'll come to you again.
I'll respond to that shortly, but before, let me just mention this. It's actually callous, reckless, and unpatriotic that Azimio insists on this country not having an electoral management body, and at the same time refraining from bipartisan talks that are actually meant to address this issue. Think about that. So coming back to our hits and misses, I want to talk largely about the progresses we've made. Victor, for the first time, we are having cabinet secretaries attend to be held responsible. That was one of the priorities the president had when he was campaigning. But look at our colleagues on the other side. They have not been able to show up in those sittings. I'm giving the instance of the Senate. At the Senate, members of the Azimio side don't appear during question time. On whether that's my business or not, their citizens, the Kenyans who elected them should be taking them to account. Look at what the president, the bilateral agreements that the president has been signing with world high and net worth countries. Those are issues we need to look at. And all those leaders have been visiting Kenya because they realize our president is someone with a plan. And imagine within a short time, he's been able to reorganize government. Even the manner in which he runs the cabinet is quite telling. And like the previous experiences we've had, where people would just sit somewhere and agree. We have a president who's very hands-on on issues. He would even tell you a road that is from Nyamasaria and maybe to Kisumu. He knows that whole place. Why am I saying that? Whatever this government is implementing is a people-driven way of addressing issues. That's why during our campaigns, we were going across the counties, getting to hear what Kenyans wanted in different areas, and we signed charters in the different county governments in the different area. We even had a youth charter, a women charter, which even honored by having so a good number of women in the cabinet and different areas. I'm a beneficiary of such charters that were signed. And I'm not saying where every other aspect has been met, but largely we are sticking to what we picked from Kenyans. We would not be giving solutions that are aimed at addressing needs we are not aware of. We are aware of these needs, and the president has been very key. He went across the whole country. When I actually say that for the first time counties have received their disbursements on time, no one has come out to dispute that, because it's the truth. He who alleges must prove.
As the burden of proof.
You know.
On a scale of 1 to 10. On a scale of 1 to 10.
I do not want to go there, because no matter how much you want to rate us, within a span of 1 year, we've exceeded the expectations of even those people who never had any admiration for this government. And you see, let me tell you, gone are the times when two people sat in Muthaiga and made decisions on behalf of the people of Homa Bay or Nyamira or Kwale. We have more than 50 million Kenyans who came to make a decision. And whatever we are implementing is as a result of the needs we had from them then. So we are still listening. And that's why the president has been revamping so many sectors. Guys from Western Kenya will now be participating in the cotton industry aggressively. So many farmers have already been given seedlings on the same. The subsidized fertilizer I'm talking about. The uncompleted projects. How do you want Mama Mboga to get their products to the market if there are no readily available markets? When I even talk about counties, we have the Ministry of Trade that got into an agreement with the COG to have the county industrial aggregation parks, which are going to be a very huge avenue to boost investment and add on the value chain, where I'm looking forward to many young people and women being involved. That is a way to grow our counties and our economy by putting a lot of emphasis on local production. Really, Kenya, why would we import shoes while butter in Limuru can do the same thing we are seeing? That is what, you know, when people look at the other issues, they forget whatever measures, even the Finance Act you're talking about, is meant to boost our local production. Because the other time we were here, we even have issues of our Uber drivers, like let's say in Nairobi. They are paying so much to international mobile developers, whereas we can have our own young people who are developing those applications to boost business.
It's 9th of August. It's 9th of August. And Senator, you are in the first committee, the bipartisan talks. I'll give you 1 minute to respond to that as we come to a close on what you should expect. Mheshimiwa Chonga.
1 year down the line.
1 year down the line.
Victor, Article number 1 of the Constitution. As opposition,
have you delivered?
Article number 1 of the Constitution, sovereignty belongs to the people. The rule of law, Kenya, as we look at it today, we have been subjected back to the dark ages, where a man has no voice, where a man cannot choose on what he wants, where a man cannot dictate the destiny of his life. That's where we are. You can remember very well, immediately the administration of Kenya Kwanza came in, the first thing was to witch hunting. You saw what happened to Matiang'i, just because he was in the former regime. But this government had the audacity even to raid the former president's farm, to raid the former president's son. For reasons not actually not known. That guy is not that man is not a criminal. Where are we going?
That said,
I have been arrested twice. Hello. I was arrested in the first time we were demonstrating here without doing anything. Taken to Kiambu, taken to where, to Thika, where. Just the other day, when I was holding my petition that I was going to take to the DCC, you saw what happened to me. I was put in 6 days. There was no mandamano, there was no demonstration. Just by the feel that you are going to take the petition, that is what Kenya is all about today.
A quick question.
Look here, a man who is not free. Give him bread, give him whatever he wants to be. For as long as that man is free, he will be free.
A quick question as we come to a close. Do we have hope for this country? as we head to the second year?
The hope, I cannot say I'm so pessimistic about everything.
Very good.
One, where we lost it is by actually engaging CSs who some of them didn't even know would go to school. And you know that. So what do you expect from that?
That's far-fetched.
It's not very far-fetched. It's not for you to accept. You can take it or leave it.
Before the Senate.
I don't even need to mention them.
Yeah.
I don't even to mention them, but they're there, all there. For you to be a commander,
I will have to investigate that.
No, you can investigate, and you.
As far as concerned, I think.
Invite me another time. Maybe you'll have realized, known by that time who
But do we have hope? Because we're running out of time. Do we have hope?
Well, if things change, not the way they are going.
All right.
Yes.
Mheshimiwa, Senator, hope for this country?
Victor, hope is the last thing that dies in man. And going back to you wanted me to actually talk about the talks.
Yes, exactly.
And I said it's actually callous, reckless, and unpatriotic for Azimio to keep insisting on this country not having an electoral management body. And at the same time, move away from the talks that want to address this issue. Is that how, God forbid, it was not in the agenda that was actually released.
No, it's in the agenda
released
now.
to the media houses.
She was
no, that's a
and
big lie to the nation.
The president,
You've given your final remarks. You've given your final remarks.
The president,
yes, Senator.
The president has always been very clear in his utterances. And him as a symbol of national unity, really. His hands are wide open. He has always extended an olive branch to any other dissenting voices. And he has led from the front. He has accommodated most of the guys who didn't even participate in this campaign.
We have hope.
Hope is the last thing that
Thank you so much. Mr. Osion, tumalizie.
Listening to some of the comments, I wonder whether some people live in Kenya and whether we want to promote lawlessness in this country and setting the constitution aside. I want to state very clearly that Kenya Kwanza, and I'm stating as an independent Kenyan, an experienced leader, drawn from labor movement, and you can see the labor movement is strongly supporting the government because we know, we can see the indicators of growth in the social sector and the promise of resolving unemployment crisis in this country. I can say this country is a democratic country and we have grown democratically, and the space of growth in democracy should not be limited by lamentations which have even come to media houses by the opposition. The opposition should rise to the occasion and play their role of checking government. The government will continue promoting constitutionalism and the rule of law, and even the engagement in the bipartisan talks should be within the constitution and the rule of law. And the president has stated very clearly that one, things to do with handshake, those ones are completely unavailable.
You people are drunk with that statement.
The demonstrations to destroy the country. That's a fact. When you even talk of opening the server.
What language do you want us to use?
Now you've gone back to the server. No,
what language do you want us to use to understand that?
Lastly, the president has stated very clearly.
Talk of something else. Don't talk about handshake. We don't want handshake.
No, you had your time.
You can loot the country. You can kill people there. You
had your time. You had your time.
The
truth is always bitter. If you are not bitter about it,
you know, he's celebrating
we are running out of time. Thank you.
And the president has stated very clearly the terrorist activities in the name of demonstration of this the country should not exist anymore.
Thank you so much.
This country will be a country of the rule of law, and we will see the growth of the economy and the economy.
Happy birthday, Kenya Kwanza.
Thank you so much for watching us. Thank you so much for being a part of the show.
Should familiarize himself with the penal code.
Ken Shonga, Member of Parliament, Kilifi South, Esther Kunyuri, nominated Senator, and former NAT Secretary General Wilson Sosion, who is now CS. All right, thank you so much. Second year, we'll be here waiting to see, taking stock of what's happening. Thank you so much for coming. Are you friends?
Make sure, yes.
Are you friends?
We have been friends even before Parliament.
Make sure we are with him in the next Parliament.
Thank you.
On 9th of August next year.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Make sure on that day he's there. I want we come and take stock of this again.
I have a secret. Whenever I want, I can travel to wherever I want, far into the distant past. Here I am in the Cenozoic era. There's nothing better than fresh ice from the Ice Age. Whoa! Oh! Huh? What's going on? How could this be possible? The most extraordinary adventures. The most dangerous traps. The most complicated puzzles. The most concealed secrets. Don't stand a chance in front of the Relic Guardians. Now let's write history together.
Sasa mimi kwa mshungi kwa mulangoni na pesa ameigua kwa nani? Pesa na mulangoni anaingiliana namna gani?
Wewe iko mshungi au wewe iko Masai?
Did you get who is the stealing the money? Huh? Did you get him stealing the money?
It was you churabaya iko paya namna hiyo kama red alafu ingia kwa ofisi yangu.
Ni chura, upendo sipende.
Mimi hapa niko chura, mimi iko Sunita.
Sikiza basi nikwambie. But how much did you get there is not there?
Hiyo kama sielewi umesema nini?
Mimi inafanya kazi kwa mulangoni. Na ikifanya kazi kwa mulangoni, mulango haijaibiwa. Mimi sijaibiwa. Hakuna kitu mimi hapo kwa mimi imeibiwa.
Na hii maneno nitapeleka kwa kotu, mheshimiwa. Wasijaribu, unanisikia mheshimiwa? Ngoja niongee na mheshimiwa.
Got this feeling down deep in my soul that I just can't shit down.
Katika hali ya miguu zangu nikasikia hazitaki kutembea kabisa. Ndio nikaanza sasa kutambaa tu hivyo. Nikienda pole pole, lakini nasikia miguu kabisa kwamba haziendi.
Kwa hivyo haukuona content ambayo ilikuwa ndani ya
sikuona, lakini niliona tu ile ambayo kwamba hasa niliona tu ni vile amebeba nyungu alafu na akiwa uchi, kwa sababu unajua aliponipatia shindano alikuwa na nguo.
Wakati watu wanaenda kwa waganga, ni tambiko gani ambazo zinafanyika huko? Ni nini waganga hufanyia mtu?
Ni safari na nipo njiani, siwezi nikiwa solo, hata nifuate ramani.
Umeenda kwa choo, umeenda haja kubwa ama ndogo, and then you have used the tissue. Ukipata imeisha, kindly remember to replace it or tell the janitor to replace it. Kindly.
Me, Agi, in a bed sitter. You must be joking. Anyway, do you want us to lift you to class? 1, 2, 3.
No, calm down. You're the school president and you're championing for people. You find this is wrong. This is so wrong.
Classmate.
And welcome back. It's still Good Morning Kenya. The Viewpoint is a show on air. 1 year later, we are taking stock of what has been happening in the country in the last 1 year. And of course, as we talk about the issue of devolution, we are talking about the issue of governance, the Kenya Kwanza administration, what has been happening, and what we really expect to be happening moving forward. And in the studio, I'm joined by Governor, Bungoma County, Ken Lusaka. Karibu sana mheshimiwa.
Asante sana.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
The last time we met was somewhere on a chilly morning in Bungoma.
Right.
How is Mashinani?
Mashinani is good. So far so good. When we left, I think we have stabilized and we are just serving our people.
Yeah.
After fulfilling the promises that we gave them when we were campaigning. Right.
When you look at the front page of that newspaper, it tells it all.
Yes.
What's the front page?
1 year later.
1 year later.
Right.
Take it away. Where are we as a nation?
As a nation, you know, just like I'm sure you have used an aircraft.
Yeah.
When you take off, you experience some bit of turbulence. Then after some time, you settle. So I think it has been a bit turbulent trying to put systems in place, trying to fix certain things. Because as a country, we took over an economy that was going down. So I think the president is trying to fix it. And even in the counties, those of us, again, who took over, we took over counties that some structures had been completely destroyed. But I think we are on the right track. So far, so good. I think the country is being fixed.
Yeah.
You realize, if you look at something like agriculture, where fertilizer was 7,000, as we speak now, it has come down to 2,500
per bag, yes.
Which was launched. In fact, it was also launched in my county. So we expect that life is going to go down. That the cost of living, that's what everybody has been complaining about. But once all these things are now fixed, it will go down. It has been a bit painful, or it has to be a bit painful, but eventually I'm sure it's going to be fixed.
Allow me to ask this question. The issue of transition from the last administration and now the president, excuse me, or even different counties had enough time to do the transition from the previous regimes, either from the governors who left, including you. Now you're back in office and you're having some transition, some cleanup. How has it affected the growth generally for the country? I mean,
yeah, you see, let me start with the county, for example. One of the issues that I've had to grapple with has been the issue of scholarship and bursaries. That's in the education sector, where my predecessor, as we went towards the election, he decided to increase the numbers from 2,000 to 12,000, you know, for those to benefit from the scholarship. That was meant to wing the voter that, you know, I'm going to take care of your education without a budget. So I've had, when I got in, I got a task force to look at all that, rationalize and be realistic that this is the money that we have. This is only what we can afford. And of course, there was a bit of noise, and but now it has stabilized because we have brought the numbers down to what's manageable. And I think even as a country, that's exactly where we were also, because, and I think I was in Senate the other day and I said we must relook at the law, where certain things should not be done a year to elections, because people tend to come up with populist programs, hoping that, you know, you are going to wing the voter to give you votes, only to end up messing the country. So a lot of the things that were done, say in the last year, you realize were populist.
Some of them have been shelved.
Some of them have been shelved, and what the president is saying that he's going to subsidize production, not consumption. And that's where you find that people are feeling a bit of pain, but eventually, give it another year or two, they're going to realize that what the president is talking about is exactly what he meant to fix, to fix the problem that was there. Because we were subsidizing consumption and not production. And that's why you can see now the cost of fertilizer is coming down. He's also talking about affordable housing, which is being rolled out in most counties, including Bungoma, where we have already found land. So those kind of programs, they may look not popular now, but at the end of the day, give it 2 or 3 years, people will now start clapping and saying, I think the president had a vision, or this governor also had a vision. So to start, definitely you get into a lot of those problems because people don't understand.
Allow me to ask you this, Governor, because when you look at the general outlook, where are we as a country? How is Kenya?
Kenya is being fixed. Of course, there have been a lot of these difficulties. The president has said, of course, the issue has been the finance bill, where, you know, people are being taxed, and he has even said, the president himself, that the late President Mwai Kibaki was very particular on people paying taxes. So we have had people in this country who have not been paying taxes. Those who are supposed to pay taxes have not been paying. So they are just tightening the noose around those who are supposed to pay taxes, so that they pay taxes, because the ordinary person at home there is the one who feels the pinch, because he's going to buy sugar, he has to buy salt, and he has to pay taxes through the purchases that he makes. So because we cannot fix some of these things that we are talking about without people paying taxes. And the president had made it clear that, you know, he doesn't want to go the borrowing way, because you see, when you borrow, a country cannot be sustained on borrowing. So we must have an arrangement ourselves through taxes, and that can only be through taxes, so that then you fix the economy. But you see, the way it was going, we went to China, we were going everywhere, borrowing money and coming in and pretending like we are doing well, but we are not doing well. So this, we need somebody courageous to bite the bullet, to say, okay, now, this is the route I don't want to go, and this is the route I want to go to take the country. So we just want to ask our people, both in the counties and the country, to be a bit patient and to give the president time to fix what was not working.
Allow me to ask you about our foreign policy. Where are we as a nation?
Our foreign policy is okay. You've had, you've seen the president travel out there, trying to make good networks with other countries. Even myself, as a governor, I have also traveled. There are those who may criticize and say, no, you don't have to travel, but I think it's important to have those networks. They are not just free trips that somebody is making, but is getting out there to get goodies for the country, not to get networks that are going to support us in a way. So in foreign policy, I think so far, so good. Right.
As you sit in the Council of Governors and as you deliberate on development agenda for this country, what are some of the pointers that you put on the table? Probably in ascending order.
We in COG, first of all, want to focus on what is devolved. Our biggest problem, challenge, and I want to laud the current government, because for the first time in the history of devolution, they have been up to date in terms of remittances to the counties. As we speak now, money for July has already been disbursed to the counties. That has never happened. We've always been in arrears of 3 months, 4 months, and that has really affected service delivery, because we end up not meeting our obligations, paying paying what are called the contractors, suppliers. You know, we have ended up. Some counties have ended up getting into arrangements with banks to even pay salaries, because, you know, without money you can't pay salaries. So the biggest challenge that we are still grappling with as COG is getting devolved functions that are still being performed by the national government.
Which are?
For example, health is a devolved function, and therefore what remained in the national government is policy and standards and, you know, a national thing like, say, vaccination. But you realize that some function, money is still being held by the Ministry of Health, money is still being held by the Ministry of Agriculture, yet agriculture, for example, is also fully devolved. So one of the issues that we have been having a conversation even with the president, and I'm the chairman of the Agriculture Committee, for example, fertilizer. The question we've been asking, should the national government still be purchasing fertilizer, supplying to the counties, or there should be a mechanism where the money that is being used to purchase fertilizers is sent to the counties, because counties, I mean, it's a devolved function. That's a conversation that we're having with the national government, with the Ministry of Agriculture, so that we streamline it, so that now the counties don't just end up being, you know, just doing what we are calling the last mile. Supplying, distributing fertilizer, the last mile supplies to the, to the farmers. So those are some of the things that we really need to streamline. So there are those functions that we feel should, they say money follows functions.
Right.
So once the functions have been devolved, then the money should also be devolved. So that's a conversation that we are having with the
Why were some of these functions still remaining with some of their tentacles with the national government, and yet they are devolved?
My own personal view would be just interests. There are a lot of interest in a lot of these things. Sometimes you follow it up and you find that you start stepping on people's toes.
But you're hopeful that at the end of the day things will happen.
Yeah, that things will happen.
1 year down the line, you were the governor before. You came to Senate, and then you're back again. You must be one lucky gentleman.
Yes.
To be given a mandate by the people of Bungoma.
Yes.
How is it 1 year? At a time like this, Kenyans went to the ballot. There were some huge lines. It's quite, something to remember about. How is it for you?
For me, I think I'm moving. There are certain things that I've already done. There are things that I promised the people of Bungoma. for them to vote for me. For example, in agriculture, I told them I was going to give, because during my first time, I initiated the input support to the farmers. By the time I left, I was giving free fertilizer in every ward of 750 bags.
Yes.
When my predecessor came on, he reduced it to about 200. When I took over, when I was campaigning, I told him I was going to take it up to about 1,000. When I got there, the budget could not allow because they had put a lot of money in many other things. But luckily, this year, we gave fertilizer 500 farmers per ward. So we covered about 21,000 farmers through free fertilizer, subsidized fertilizer, and the harvest is very good. We're expecting a bumper harvest, by the way, because we also gave the right fertilizer. Even the national government, the fertilizer that they gave was also the right fertilizer after, the soils had been checked, because most of our soils are acidic.
Yeah.
So if you go around, you find that the crop is doing very well. I had also promised that I was going to motivate the workers, because human resource is also important. You need people to perform what you want to achieve. The development can only be implemented by people.
Yeah.
So like in the health sector, I've already confirmed more than 179 health workers who are on temporary basis. I put them on P&P. Even in the TVETs, I've confirmed most of the instructors who are also just on casual basis or on contract basis, just to motivate them. I'm rolling out the issue of we are now fixing the lights, street lights, the flood lights. My predecessor, let all those things die. So I'm promoting what we call a 24-hour economy. You go to most of our markets now, they are lit. You can find that around 10, 11 people are still working. People are still selling their wares, the mama bogas and the border borders. I'm also rolling out the trade loans. During my first time, I had what we call the trade loans. The regulations are now in the assembly. When they resume, I think next week, they should be able to approve the trade loans, so that the regulations, so that we then give out the trade loans to the mama bogas and all this what we are chini, because we were talking about the bottom-up approach, the bottom-up economy. So from where I sit, things are now moving on. And 2 years, 3 years from today, people will see a lot of changes in most of the sectors that are involved, like I've said, agriculture, health, education, trade, and industrialization. Right.
I'm quite interested in understanding how you are handling your county. Perhaps something that is not happening, maybe the county of Mandera, something happening, because I know they're different because of different locations and topography. But what's something quite unique, Bungoma, under your leadership and administration?
My leadership, one, is accessibility. I'm very accessible to the people. I go out there, listen to what people want. I watch TV, like this KBC, I watch.
Very good.
I listen to the local radio stations, so that I get feedback from the people, because they will talk about, oh, Governor, this road is not motorable. Governor, these lights are not working. So from that feedback, I am able then to fix the things that people are talking about. So public participation, going out there and listening to what people are saying, that's my approach. That has been my approach to my administration, and I also operate through an open door policy. As we speak now, I have 2 centers of operation. I operate from home, just like the way you have State House and Harambee House. There are days when I am at home to listen to people in the local problems.
Wananchi. Wakuje tuongee
tusikizane. Then I'm also in the office to also listen to the things that they are doing. And I go out there to also inspect projects. And I have also worked very closely with my county assembly. I must laud them, because we have, although they are doing oversight, but we are also working very closely. Because we know they are also appraised on what we are doing. And they have, for example, approved my CECs. They have approved my supplementary budget, and they have also approved my main budget. So that has given me an environment that I am able to implement. They identify projects, for example. I've also given them money at the ward level. So that's its oversight, but they identify the projects with the Mwananchi, because we also, again, the essence of devolution was to enable Mwananchi to participate in their own development, so that you don't sit in Nairobi or Bungoma town and decide that Namwela wants this. You let them identify what they want.
What they want.
Once they have identified, it's put in the budget. We go to implement, then the MCS oversight that.
That's an interesting point, Governor, because when I think a month or so ago, the MCS also complained that they wanted monopoly and autonomy in ward development funds. Some of these proposals will now go through the legislative processes for it to be entrenched in the Constitution or for that. But how do you handle it, giving your MCAs money for ward development? How do you handle it?
The way I've handled it is, one, you ring fence the money.
Yes.
So that, for example, an MCA knows that his ward will get 24 million in a financial year. So what they cannot do is to implement projects, because their role is legislation, oversight, and representation. So they cannot be the ones implementing the projects, because they are the ones who will be oversighting what the executive is doing.
Yes.
So all we do is to ring fence that money. They know that, for example, 24 million is for their ward. Then they will sit down with their committees to identify projects. For example, somebody will say, me, I want water, I want ECD classrooms, I want a health facility, I want this. So that within the budget is done within that 24, or the money ring fenced for that particular ward.
And then it's now distributed as per the ward.
As per the ward.
Okay.
But the execution of the projects, execution of the work
remains
is done
with the executive.
So that their work is to oversight.
That should be making your work so easier.
Yes, it is. It makes it very easy, because then once something is happening in the ward, it is that ward is within Bungoma County, and therefore development is taking place everywhere. Like we had over I have done over 304 kilometers of road in the entire county. So at least as I speak, in every ward, there's one or two roads that have been done or are ongoing. So when that happens overall, you find that there's development taking place in the entire county. So it makes it very easy. It's all, the projects are owned by the people because they identify the projects, and mine is to execute, to implement or execute those programs through my CEC members and chief officers and my administrative officers who then oversee the implementation.
That must be one of the secrets, because if you see some of the counties are still grappling even to come to terms with their MCAs, you're having it. I'm made to understand that you don't owe anyone a single shilling in your county. I should be a voter in Bungoma County and a supplier in Bungoma County. You've cleared all the pending bills.
Yes,
ideally.
Yes, you see, when I came 1 year down the lane, when I took over, of course, we had pending bills, and people had worked, there were programs that were ongoing. As we speak, I have paid all the contractors, 99%. If there's one that we have not paid, maybe it's a project that has not been completed. But those who have completed...
Governor, I think this one you should just take a break and just talk to the camera straight. You have cleared all the pending bills in Bungoma County.
Yes, I've cleared the pending bills in Bungoma. Those for the year that I've been there, all the contractors who worked and work was certified to have been done as per the bill of quantities or as per the requirements, we have paid.
You must be a happy man.
Yes.
You must be a happy man. Are you taking any other projects moving forward, or your work is to supervise the projects that were completed moving forward, or improving the current projects?
Those that have been done, of course, like things like roads, it is what we call periodical maintenance. We will have to, when it rains, sometimes the roads are spoiled, so we'll have to retender and maintain them. We'll come up with new projects. We normally sit and agree that now we are going to do, say, this particular road. We are going to complete, for example, the high altitude training center. By the way, I have the only high altitude training center, public training center in the Republic is in Bungoma, in Chemoge, in Mount Elgon. So that's a project that I want to complete. I have a chicken slaughterhouse which I started and initiated when I was a permanent secretary in the midst of livestock development. Then also pushed it when I was the first governor. Now it is operational, but we can do better. We want to get more land because it has capacity to slaughter 3,000 chicken. In fact, I want to export chicken to Uganda and neighboring countries. And I had that in mind because, you know, chicken rearing in Western or Bungoma, for that matter, is not something that you're going to teach people. People just do it naturally, you know. And then I'm encouraging them. That's a norm. The women, I'm encouraging the women groups, the youth groups, and everybody to rear chicken because the market is there and it's beginning to peak. So we want to identify new projects that we are going to implement in all the sectors that are developed. I've said I'm going to employ, for example, more ECD teachers because since I employed ECD teachers and put them on P&P in my first term, there has never, my predecessor never employed any. There are those that have retired, there are those that have died, you know, natural attrition. So we are going to employ more. I want to build more ECD classrooms. I want to equip them. I want to also equip the VTCs. I want to focus on, for example, agriculture, food security. I have said that with a bamba harvest that we are having this year, unfortunately the budget is already gone. In the subsequent budgets, I will be convincing the members of the county assembly that we set aside money to purchase maize when we have a bamba harvest, because now the farmers are being exploited. Because 3 or 2 months ago, they were buying a gorogoro of maize at about 240. Now they are selling at 80 shillings because of, you know, some are, you know, there's a serious drop. So they are being exploited. We have very many lorries coming in there, people purchasing green maize. So we want to cushion the farmer. We want to be able to buy at a reasonable price from the farmers, keep it because we have the stores, we have the national cereals boards in my county, so that then when there's a problem, we can be able then to even sell it back to the farmer at a reasonable price. Those are the plans that we have. So we will be coming up with a lot of the projects, a lot of initiatives that are going to ensure that the mwananchi gets money in the pocket, you know, pesa mfukoni, like we were promising.
Governor, let's take a break and we come back. I still have enough some questions for you. I want us to still delve more into the issue of pending bills. How you managed to do it? What was this outstanding bill that you managed to clear? And what can people copy from Bungoma County to benchmark? And I'm also made to understand that you fired ghost workers. Who are ghost workers? You'll tell me more of that. And then 10 years of devolution, Governor. You have a devolution conference coming up next week. What are some of the hits or misses as far as this is concerned as a nation? More with Governor Ken Lusaka shortly after this break. Stay with us.
경력 단절돼서 처음부터 다시 시작해야 되는데 애 딸린 아줌마라고 다들 싫대. 나 진짜 일 잘하던 여자였는데. 많이 놀라셨죠?
전혀요.
그래서 그렇게 들어오셨구나.
누가 누웠다고?
watching Good Morning Kenya. The Viewpoint with me in studio is Governor Lusaka, Governor of Bungoma County. We are just taking stock of what has happened in the last 1 year since we went to the election. That is exact day and date last year. But most importantly, 10 years of devolution. We have a devolution conference coming up next week, Governor, and we'll be getting into that very shortly. But let's come back to the issue of the pending bills. It's a thorn in the flesh for so many people, including the national government. Allow me to ask you, what was the total amount that you cleared with other counties?
First of all, when I came in, I formed a task force to try and establish the pending bills, because it was running to about over 1 billion, to look at the eligible pending bills. Because normally what would happen is you'll find that as we get towards the election, people tend to fake bills, to want to make quick money to use it even for campaign.
Yeah.
So we established what we saw, what were eligible and ineligible, where we could verify. People went out to check where they're saying maybe a road was done and you realize that maybe it was not done. So we sorted out that, and what I did, first of all, the money that we've been receiving, the shareable revenue, we have been, irrespective of whether, this contractor supported me or not, we are first of all sorting out the genuine pending bills. So if you worked and we were supposed to pay you, we have...
With all the supportive documents.
The supportive documents, we verify and pay you, because you see, we didn't want anybody to suffer as a result of that. So what I have sorted out, like I mentioned, are the works that have been done during my period, and I've also sorted out those that were being done, like we had ongoing projects by the World Bank. We have a hospital, 3 hospitals, one in Bungoma, another one in Naitiri, another one in Bumula. So those have been sorted out because the money was available. So what I've done is to prioritize, because that's what the government has also been emphasizing, and Treasury, to prioritize pending bills. So once we establish that the bill is genuine, from the task force that we formed, we sort you out, we pay you. That's how I have done it. And those who have worked for the last the ending financial year, all those who worked, we sorted out. So there's nobody with a pending bill so far.
Because at the end of the day, I'm trying to imagine when you get the revenue from the national government and then from the local collection, from the county, was it complementing each other, or it was from own source revenue or from the national government?
It was complementing each other, from the national government and own source revenue. By the way, we were rated as by CRA as the county that has done very well in terms of own source revenue. We've really improved.
Yes.
So we were rewarded. So it was complementing each other. It's a very delicate balance, because you see, as you clear the pending bills, you also, most of these pending bills were done by my predecessor.
Yes.
As you clear that, you must also now factor in money to start other projects, develop new projects. So it's normally a very difficult thing to do, because most people would rather even forget about the pending bills and focus on their own new projects, because politics is, politics is very selfish. People will want to be selfish about...
How has this really made your administration moving forward? Because I would imagine if you don't have that luggage of pending bills, what is now remaining is your development.
Yes.
How are you going to... This must be so easy for you, so that you can plan with whatever you get from the national government, own source revenue. It must be so easy for you to plan for your country.
Yes, it's easy to plan, because then we'll be able now to focus on what I promise the people, what is in the CIDP.
Yes.
What is it that I want to achieve, for example, in 1 year or 2 years? So, and I will be launching my CIDP on Monday, that is 14th. That's now going to be the development blueprint, what we are going to do, because now this is my first financial year since coming back as a governor. So it's going to be, we want to be more focused on the things that I promised the people of Bungoma, and it's going to be easy, because once we don't have the baggage of the pending bills, like you have rightly said, it becomes easier to then focus and move on in all the sectors. So expecting a smooth flight. Just like I said, when you take off,
with no turbulence.
It's a bit turbulent, but once you stabilize and you get at cruise level, you should be able to fly and even walk around in the air.
Could it be this is the reason why I'm told you did some cleanup in your county, ghost workers, which is a very big menace, even in the national government?
Yes, and even on Monday we have workers who went to court claiming that they were casuals and they are supposed to be employed. So the court made a ruling that we employ them on permanent and pensionable. So I've said I'm going to be very transparent. All those who claim to be workers, casual workers, or who are employed, as directed by the court, we will go to the field. You come with your documents and everything that is required of you. If you qualify, we'll employ you. If you don't, there will even be police and a lorry there. You know, if you come with fake things, you will not go back home. You will go to the lorry and go to prison because of faking. Because we want to clean up. We want to clean up the system. Because we have people who are claiming they think they are about 463, but I can assure you, those who will turn up may not be more than 100.
What was the total number?
The total number was 463.
That's a huge one too, even to the taxpayer.
Yes, and you see, in fact, I want to thank the court because you see, there were another list of 660 who claimed they had been recruited by my predecessor, and towards like I was saying, a law must be found where 1 year to elections, both at the national and county level, certain things should not happen. The governors or the president should not be allowed to do certain things 1 year to elections, because that is where a lot of things are committed. A lot of ill things, like somebody goes to recruit over 600 casuals just because in anticipation to win an election. Or somebody raises, like I said, numbers of people to benefit from a bursary or a scholarship from 2,000 to 12,000. Woodwinking the voter. So I think there should be some law where they're saying 1 year to an election or 1 year after an election, you should not be able to do certain things, so that people don't do certain things just to woodwink the voters to vote for them.
But see, Governor, some of these things are legislative, and politics also plays a key role. You've been in that space for quite a long time. This has to go back either to the Senate or the National Assembly.
That's what I'm saying. Let it go back. Let it be legislated, because a lot of bad things happen 1 year to elections, where you find money is being committed, or you are launching just to woodwink the voters, and then eventually that these things are not going even to work, or maybe there's no budget, or when somebody else takes over, it becomes a problem. Just like now what our president is also going through. A lot of populist things that were mentioned as we went to elections. Then you get there and you realize that some of these things have no budget. For example, roads. The budget, the pending budget for roads at the national level is unimaginable. They can't fix. So right now they are just busy. The money that is being found is busy fixing roads that were commissioned, contractors that were brought on board. Now they have to be paid before you start even a new project. So that's why I'm saying that a legislation must be found where certain things must not be done a year to elections or after an election.
It must be anchored in law. Your county is one of the biggest counties, Governor, and at the end of the day, you have a blueprint. You have to deliver to the people of Bungoma. Time is running out. I'm trying to look at a situation where, in the budget for 2023-2024 budget, how are you going to collect this money, on-source revenue, together with the national government, from money from the national government, to complete your flagship projects?
We are getting a budget of about 11 billion. Actually, Bungoma is one of the biggest counties, like you have said. What I'm doing, we want to improve on-source revenue collection. So we are tightening. We automated, when I was there the first time, I made sure that we have an automated system to collect revenue, because when you automate most of the things, it becomes easier. You see loopholes because there was a lot of pilferage. Money, people just...
And then you also one point of collection.
Yeah, one point of collection. Things like, bus parks. We want, like the health is one of the greatest contributor to appropriation in aid, so we want to have a health management system that's going to be automated, so that where we are, any money paid will be accounted for, and we can monitor how much money has come in. You can be able to monitor on the press of a button. You can see real-time flow of money, cash coming to the counties, because this business of manual is where we lose a lot of money. So I want to tighten to tighten the nuts so that we don't have a lot of pilferage, money going into people's pockets. That then also revenue plus now what is coming, we are able to push the budget to even about 14 billion. Once we have once we have that kind of money, we can be able then to upscale the things that we want to.
Maybe if I ask, what's your approximate collection quarterly?
We know when I left last time, we had gotten to about 700 million, on source, collection, but it dropped to about 300 or so. So we want to push it back to about 700 million or even 1 billion if we can, because if we seal all these loopholes annually, if we seal all these loopholes, that's achievable, because we went up to, we almost got there, but again, like I said, it dropped. I don't know for whatever reasons, but we are now carrying out a survey to know exactly the loopholes that we need to seal for us to upscale what we can collect.
All right, Governor, 10 years down the line, I mean, you're one among people who completely were in the front line to bring the new constitution, and you're actively in it. Next week, you will be in Uasin Gishu to mark 10 years of devolution. Let's get into it briefly. Are the devolved units working as per the expectation or as were envisaged in the constitution?
I think it's working despite the challenges that are there, just like any new system would face, but devolution has worked. If there's anything, if you want to know that it's working, tomorrow, let anybody wake up and say, we go back to the centralized system. Kenyans will be on the streets to protest about that. Because now Kenyans, one thing that the new constitution brought is what we call public participation. They are able to participate in their own, to prioritize their development. Resources have also been devolved to the units. People can sit down. People now understand, even the ordinary Mwananchi understands what a budget is, because of what the public participation. We normally call them, you go present the budget, the proposed budget to them, tell them this is what we want to do in this area, in this constituency. Then they tell you, no, us we don't want, we want water, we want this. So it is working. We have all those challenges that, bedevil any system, even, developed democracies like the US are still also have experiencing challenges. Brazil, they're still experiencing the challenges. But if you asked me, 10 years down the line, devolution is working. There are areas in this country that had never seen tarmac. There are areas in this country that had never seen a Syrian operation like Wajir. The first Syrian operation experience has come through devolution, when now the county started developing, having equipment that were doing all those things. Most counties have dialysis machines. Most counties have roads, tarmac roads. They have agriculture, like I'm saying, food security. So overall, we are going to look at where we were, for example, before devolution, the journey that we have walked, what are the challenges, and where we want to go, maybe 20 years from today, the devolution. And there's a lot of improvement, because I happen to have been one of the first governors, the pioneer governors. And we had a lot of challenges. There was totally nothing, putting in place structures, having a cabinet, doing all these things. Now we had the second governors. I have come in as a third time, and I can tell you there's a lot of improvement. So by the time we get to the 5th, 6th, or 10th governors, there will be a complete difference. And because now most of the teething problems have been sorted out. If you even read, you don't see a lot of those, a lot of the challenges. For example, the first time they were talking about a lot of corruption, and some of these things were committed either by omission or commission, because everybody was new. Nobody had ever tested devolution. So people were it was try and error. But we have fixed it. Come the 4th and the 5th governors, they should not have any challenges that the first governors went through.
As COG, what are some of the weaknesses, some of the missing dots in the constitution that should be fixed?
COG, you know, like we are saying, we are still grappling with the national government, and that happens in most of the countries. It's not very easy for the central government or the national government to cede ground.
Yes.
So we'll still be fighting, because you see, the president may mean well, with the way I know him and the way he's supporting us, but we still have some elements in the national government who still, and like I talked about, interests, who still believe that certain things must still be handled at the national level. So as COG, those are the things that we are grappling with. Sometimes you rub shoulders, like you say now, we should be the ones purchasing, for example, fertilizer. We should be the one purchasing certain things in health. Then, of course, there are those at the national government who have a lot of interest, who think it should be done at that level. So those are some of the things that are still being held by that we are grappling with the national government. It's a conversation that we want to have even as we go to Eldoret, because the president will come, the deputy president will come, most national government functionaries will be there. We will be pointing out some of the areas that we think we can still improve on. We can say, for example, this is our function, please let the funds come down so that we are able to do it for you. At the end of the day, there are no citizens that belong to the county government and citizens that belong to the national government. We all belong to this country. So you're not going to say now, this citizen, this one, Wafula is a national government citizen and Wanyonyi is a county. We all belong there. And any development taking place is development taking place in this county and in this country, because the total aggregate of the counties form Kenya. So it's just who is doing what. And the law is very clear on who should do what or who should perform what function.
When you head to us in Gishu next week, Governor, what are some of the pointers that as governors you'd want to put across, and if possible, you want to see implemented moving forward?
As we go to us in Gishu, one, we will be showcasing the success stories, the achievements. Every county, we have stalls. Every county will be saying, okay, since devolution started, this is what we have done. We have done this number of ECDs. In agriculture, we have done this to ensure food security. In health, we have done this. In energy, we have done this, ABCD. These are the challenges that we have faced. This is what we think the national government should do. This is what we are asking the national government to cede if it's still at the national government. We will also be thanking, will be, okay, somebody said when we were in Senate that, you should not be thanking maybe what there's nothing to thank the government for doing what they're supposed to be doing. But it's good to appreciate. When you have been in that space, and I've been in that space where you go for 3 months without disbursements, then the workers are up in arms. They have not been paid for 3 months. It's not a very good experience. Or people have worked, you can't pay them. So we'll also be thanking the current government, the Kenya Kwanza government, for ensuring, and want them to keep it up, that the disbursements are timely. When the disbursements are timely, we are able to meet our obligation, just the way I've said that I have paid all the contractors, because we had money to do that. If we didn't have the money, then it would be difficult for us to pay. So we will be saying, these are our achievements, these are the challenges, and going forward, this is the way we want to go, this is the roadmap. So it will be a good audit. We'll be auditing devolution 10 years down the line. How have we performed? So that is basically what we'll be doing as we go towards the report.
On a span of 1 to 10, where are we in terms of devolution? A scale of 1 to 10.
We are at about 7.
The 3 is meant for the fixing of the,
fixing of the small things that we are still grappling with. Saying water is devolved. Why are we doing boreholes? Why can't you give the counties the money to do the boreholes? You see, those are the small things that we are now looking at and challenging the national government. But we are not fighting. Luckily we are having a president who listens. And for the first time, and that is the way to go, that anytime there has been a problem, the president has been available, and the deputy president, to listen to the governors. Because we are all in this, we are 48 governments, one nation. 48 governments, one nation. We are all for the betterment of the lives of our people. So when you have a president who listens, a president who comes to the county and listens to the governor talk about issues, listens to the senator and members of parliament, members of county assembly, it makes work easier than when you have a president who does not listen or who just talks at you and not listening to what you're saying.
All right. Governor, today is a very important day. Let me put it that. The two gentlemen, let me call them two big boys, that's how I refer to them, President William Ruto and Raila Odinga, both sides, Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, they're starting their talks today at Kenya Kwanza. As a politician, what's your view on that from your angle?
From my angle, is one is a tricky. One is that we must learn that in a democracy, when you go to an election, there will be a winner and there will be a loser.
Yes. And this is something that the country constitution wanted to cure. I mean, systems of governance.
Yeah. You know, when you go to an election, that's why there's always an acceptance and a losing. You have to have two speeches. One you are conceding, and another one you are accepting that you have won. But we cannot have a cycle where every time there is an election, issues come up. We must, I think, go beyond that.
Yeah.
Like in Bungoma, I beat my predecessor who beat me in when he beat me in 2017. I had issues, but I said, for the sake of the county going forward, I didn't want to raise it. I never went to court. In fact, my people told me don't accept, but I went and conceded and said, he has been pronounced as a winner. I will have another day to give it a go. Come 2022, I beat him he beat me by 20,000 voters. Well, I mean, voters. I beat him by 105,000 votes.
Now that's as a footballer, that's when you call, that's a serious comeback.
A serious comeback. So
that's a serious comeback.
Yes, so I accepted, and he also accepted. He came and handed over. So the discussions are okay. Let them go, and it's good. They will listen to the issues that the opposition is raising, because they try to say let it be handled in Parliament. They said no.
All right.
But they cannot you cannot go to a negotiation with clenched fists. You can't. You cannot
everything open.
Put everything open.
All right.
Put genuine issues.
Okay.
Don't come up with, because you see the unfortunate bit is that the history of the person with the other side is that that has been a trend.
Yes.
That every time there is a loss, you have to raise issues and whatever. But I'm happy that now they are going to.
All right. I'm told that we are running out of time, but we are running out of time because we are going to your former employer. We are going to Senate after this. All right, Governor, thank you so much for joining us. Do you miss that seat? Senate?
Of course, yeah. I went there. I was very nostalgic. I miss it,
That's where we're headed to right after this.
Right.
Thank you so much, Governor, for joining us. We've been talking to Governor Ken Lusaka of Bungoma County. He's just given us his blueprint, what he should expect. But the most important thing I've picked from there, that there's no pending bills in Bungoma County. Homa Bay, what are you doing? Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning. Goodbye.